Hey, Sam. All right, so we're a half an hour short, guys. So I wonder if we should start back from the beginning. Hold on, let me get you your. All right, let's give everybody a minute to get in here. Hey, Sam. All right, I just wanted to give everybody a minute to get in here. I know a couple of people
Hey.
if I was going to stream, and I said, yeah, I had to get my little ones. It was the first day of school today, so I had to get them off. So I know we're about 30 minutes late. Hey, Katie. Good morning. I know we're about 30 minutes off, but at least we can play through the reddish shredding Mac. Oh man, I'm about to start from the beginning. So you can
Yeah.
go through the sidebars. That's wild.
Yeah. If I have a question. So if Susan comes to my page and comments on the live,
Uh-huh.
can I click on her to moderate my chat?
Yes.
Okay.
Not through
I'm
StreamYard on your page though.
yes, on my page. Let me
Yeah.
I might drop down for just a second so that I can go do that.
Okay.
Let me see if it lets me.
Like
Oh,
yours.
okay, it let me. It let me not have
All
to
right.
lose.
I heard that. All right. So, do you want to start back from the beginning? Hey, Chelsea Presley. Good morning. Good morning. Sam, do you want to go back to the beginning? Katie, I don't know if you're working, but if you want to come up, I dropped the StreamYard link.
That'd be great.
All right. I think you will want to. Yeah, that's what the plan is. That's what I think I'm gonna do. All right, guys, do me a favor. If you're in here, thumb up, and don't forget to share it out, repost it, do all the things that you guys know to do. Let's see. Let's start from the very beginning. Good morning, Red. I should probably press play.
All right. Go
What's the next exhibit? What's the next exhibit?
292. LBBB.
Katie, it says your device is not connected, your microphone. All right.
Hey. All persons having anything to do before the Honorable William Sullivan, Justice of the Superior Court, now sitting at Plymouth, within and for the Commonwealth. Draw near and give your attendance, and you shall be heard.
Hey, Susan, good morning.
Massachusetts, this court is now in session. Please be seated.
Good morning, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Your Honor, before the court today, we have the continuation of the jury trial in the matter of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. Ms. Clancy is present. She is represented by Attorney Kevin Reddington. The Commonwealth is represented by
Where are
Assistant
you,
District
Susan?
Attorney Jennifer Sprague and Assistant District Attorney Shannon Buckingham.
All right. Well, thank you, Madam Clerk. Good morning, members of the jury. I hope everybody had a nice weekend. And
So what we're going to do, as we have done so many times before, I'm going to ask you those questions, and then we're kind of going to go over what today's schedule is, and then we'll get right back to the trial. So the first question: has any member of the jury read, seen, heard, or overheard anything from any source about any aspect of this case that would affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror? All right. Last question: is there any other serious matter of concern bearing on your service as a juror in this case that anybody needs to bring to my attention at this time? Again, thank you so much for following those instructions. What we are going to do from the schedule today, if you remember on Friday, we were in during cross-examination of Dr. Mack, who testified Friday afternoon. We're going to return to the cross-examination, and the only difference is Dr. Mack is going to be available by Zoom here. We've had a couple other witnesses, so you all kind of know how that's going to work. So we're going to finish the cross-examination of Dr. Mack by Zoom. Commonwealth, if they have redirect question, and then we're going to continue with the Commonwealth's rebuttal. All right, and so just to kind of go back as far as the procedures that we followed, so the Commonwealth presented their case. Then after they were done, the defendant presented their case, and we're now on to the Commonwealth's rebuttal. All right, and when the Commonwealth's rebuttal is done, we're going to move to the next portion of the procedure process, which will be the closing arguments and the legal instructions. All right, so that comes after the Commonwealth's rebuttal witnesses. So that's kind of where we are at this point. And so as we go through today, I'll kind of keep you up to date in regards to the schedule for going forward. All right, so that's where we are. So at this point, we'll get Dr. Mack on the screen, and then it'll be.
He looks like he's
Ms.
just about had
Reddington,
enough.
Continuing cross-examination. Yeah, please.
Dr. Mack, would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony and the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury in the matter now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant at the bar shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir.
All right, Attorney Reddington.
Thank you. Sir, how many times have you testified in courts on the issue of criminal responsibility?
I would estimate 1 or 2.
So if you estimate 1 or 2 times,
Real
would this
expert.
be your 3rd time?
By that estimation, yes.
Okay, so it's not by my estimation, though, it's by your estimation, and you would know better than me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the 3rd time in your career that you've testified on a criminal trial on the issue of lack of criminal responsibility. Is that correct?
I know there are other times that I've created opinions.
Well, I'm sure.
I'm not sure how many.
I'm just asking about criminal responsibility. That's it.
I'm talking about criminal responsibility. And I know there are other times I've created opinions, but I'm not sure that I've testified about them
Okay.
in the courtroom.
So my question was simply, how many times have you testified in court on criminal cases regarding the issue of lack of criminal responsibility, and this would be your 3rd time, right?
That is my recollection.
Okay.
You're good, Katie.
And you have testified in court on behalf of various governmental agencies on other matters in addition to criminal responsibility, correct?
Yes.
And you are operating under the umbrella, if you will, of the Park Dietz conglomerate of a lot of expert witnesses that, as I understand, would parcel out cases to different people. Is that right?
There are times that I do cases through Park Dietz and Associates. I can't speak to how many experts they have and exactly how they, as you put it, parcel things out. But over the span of my career, there have been times that I've done it when cases have been presented through Park Dietz and Associates, and times that I've done it through other entities. As I discussed the other day, I had a role for the state of Maryland And at times, and in this case, there was a criminal responsibility trial that I was a part of when I had a role for the state of Maryland. So going throughout my career, it's been multiple different entities.
You've also testified, since we're talking about it, in the state of Pennsylvania, right?
What's your question?
You've also testified, since we're talking about it, in the state of Pennsylvania, right?
I believe I have.
Was that at Park Dietz, or was that you individually, or one of your other entities?
You'd have to specify which case.
Commonwealth versus Torres, 342 MAL 2021, Pennsylvania.
Can you cite that case again, please?
Sure. Commonwealth versus Torres, 342 MAL 2021, Pennsylvania, where the court held that that would be Abram Mack, was apparently certified only in child and adolescent psychiatry. You lacked forensic certification to testify in the field that you were ostensibly going to testify in.
Oh,
Does that
yeah.
refresh your memory?
No.
Did you testify in? Did you testify in Commonwealth versus Torres in Pennsylvania?
I don't remember.
How about Commonwealth versus Carter in New Jersey? You remember that one?
No.
Do you recall that the court held on an appeal that you used an
Look
approach
at
that
that
fell
security
below
guard
the
right there. He
standard
was like,
of forensic
man.
practice?
No.
How about Feder LeBron versus the Secretary of DCF, 710 Fed 3rd, 1202 in Florida? You remember that case, I'm sure, right?
I do.
And in Feder, there was a gentleman, Mr. Feder LeBron, who was a Navy veteran, who was a single father and had a child. And he was a member or a person that was able to get benefits from what's called TANF, T-A-N-F, Temporary Aid to Needy Families. You remember that?
I do.
And the state of Florida decided that because needy families consisted of either minorities or drug users or people that would not be reliable to work in the confines of working underneath the TANF, so they wanted to have blood testing and drug testing of all the people that were temporary aid to needy families, right?
That's your conception of what was happening with that.
Well, that's my conception from reading the case, sir. Do you agree, sir, that TANF is an acronym for Temporary Aid to Needy Families?
Yes, it is.
Do you agree, sir, that this gentleman, Mr. Feder LeBron, was a plaintiff in a lawsuit against the state of Florida?
Yes.
Do you agree, sir, that it was in federal court?
Yes.
Do you agree, sir, that in federal court, the court held that, in fact, you were unqualified to give an opinion that you attempted to give, saying that it was perfectly appropriate to test by way of urine or blood people that are benefiting from the TANF program, because your testimony was that they belong to a class of people that I guess had to be tested, right?
I don't agree with your conceptualization.
Okay, so the court ultimately ruled that your argument, your testimony on behalf of the state of Florida, the government, and you indicated that TANF benefits, applicants for TANF were people that were involved with drug use, violence, and higher rates of suicide. Remember those words, those three words?
The testimony that I provided.
Do you remember testifying, sir, about the people that are the beneficiaries of the TANF program, people that need aid because of needy families, are people that should be tested by way of blood or urine?
What is this
And
man
your
not
argument,
understanding?
sir, was because they are of a class that would be more likely to commit a crime or have suicide or drug use. Did you testify to that?
That is not the way that that testimony or that report was presented. No,
Okay,
I would disagree.
so your answer is no. Let's keep it that way. Your answer is no. So you recall, sir, that there was an appeal, and in fact, on the appeal, it was determined that, again, yet again, you were not qualified to offer a relevant opinion because, number one, you never studied the TANF population. Recall that?
No, that is not the correct conceptualization.
Says you. Number two, that you did not survey any data. Recall that, sir?
specifically in Florida is the nuance on that issue.
And number three, that you had no research whatsoever on the data that you based your opinion on. Would you agree with that, sir?
No.
Do you agree, sir, that the court held that you relied on other researchers' studies and didn't make any effort whatsoever to form an opinion based on your own research? Do you agree with that?
Good morning, Raven.
I don't remember the specific language of the court.
Good
All
morning,
right, do you
Tess.
recall that ultimately your testimony was stricken?
No, I don't believe that it was stricken.
Okay. In any event, sir, you would agree with me that you have a memory of Avra Mack being subject to this attack, if you will, by the attorneys on behalf of the people that were involved with TANF, right? You remember that much, right?
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Thank you. Now, in summary, sir, you're here to testify in front of this jury regarding your testimony and opinion that you've given regarding Lindsay Clancy's state of mind at the time of the killing of her children. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you evaluated her in 2026. Is that right?
Yes.
So you really evaluated her about 3 years
Hey,
after
Adventures.
the incident that occurred in January 22, right?
January 2023.
So you do recall the date that the incident occurred, 23, right?
Right. So to answer
Okay,
your
the answer is right.
Yeah.
Okay. And in reference to your answer, sir, you would agree with me that there was a significant passage of time between the incident in 2023 and when you saw her about 2 or 3 months ago, right?
Correct.
Good morning,
Okay, and
Jen.
you drove out there with the guy that's going to be in here testifying in about an hour or so, Helbrun. Is it Helbrun or Heilbrun?
When you say that I drove out there,
I'm just asking the guy's name. Is it Helbrun or Heilbrun?
you'll have to ask him how he likes to pronounce it.
Well, did you know how to call him or what to call him when you were out there with him for 2 days at Tewksbury?
Kirk.
Kirk, okay. And you met Kirk, I imagine, that morning that you were going to evaluate Lindsay?
Yes.
And what was the date that you evaluated her? Was it February
I
date?
think the first date was April 10th.
Okay.
The second date was April 12th. And those were the 2 days that I was there.
Right, because Kirk had to give her psychological testing
Good
on the middle
morning.
day, right?
Correct.
Okay, so did you stay in a hotel or a van, or where'd you stay?
You're asking me where I stayed?
Yeah, I don't want to meet up. I just want to know where you stayed.
I stayed in Massachusetts.
Where?
I believe in Wellesley.
Where? Was it like a Holiday Inn? Was it a Ritz-Carlton? Where?
Good morning, Jeanette.
A private home.
A private home. Okay.
In a van.
Kirk didn't stay there, did he?
I don't know.
You don't
No, he
know?
didn't stay there. He didn't stay there, that's for sure.
Okay. So in any event, you must have had plans to meet up with Kirk at Tewksbury Hospital, right?
I did meet Dr. Halpern at Tewksbury Hospital, yes.
Okay, I'm calling him Kirk because that's what you told me is that you refer to him as. But Dr. Hoffman, how do you pronounce it?
I believe it's Halpern, but you'll have to ask him how he prefers it.
Okay, I will. And then did you meet him in the parking lot of Tewksbury?
Yes, I think that's right.
And
Or in
you
the
had,
lobby.
sorry, what'd you say?
Or in the lobby.
Okay. So when you went there on that date in April, the first day, you already had your information that you were able to form your opinion based upon. Is that right?
At the time that I initiated the examination, I had reviewed records related to Ms. Clancy. But creation of the ultimate opinion.
No. I'm I'm asking about the records, sir. Real simple. The records that you reviewed. You had already reviewed them before you went to Tewksbury Hospital. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And the records would be, obviously, cell phone extraction records, yes?
I don't know exactly when I reviewed those cell phone records.
How about defense expert forensic psychiatric evaluations? Dr. Philip Resnick, Dr. Margaret Spinelli, you reviewed the reports that were already prepared by my experts. Is that correct?
And also Dr. Zeisel.
Zeisel, yeah, thank you. Okay, because I had sent them to you, isn't that right?
You had sent them, I believe, to Dr. Heilbronn.
To Dr. who? I'm sorry.
I think Dr. Kirk Heilbronn. And I think he was able to give them to me.
Okay, fine. So you also were able to review Division or Department of Children and Family Records dated February 3rd of 2023, correct?
Correct.
And those would be records that pertained, obviously, after the death of the children, but it was just an interview of Patrick, the father, and Lindsay's husband, right? That's what those were.
That was a substantial component of that, but that was the DCF evaluation that occurred, and they, I believe, interviewed him when he was at Boston Children's Hospital.
Okay, all I'm asking is that the DCF, in other words, there's no DCF records that shows that Lindsay was abusive to her children, right?
I don't think that was necessarily the conclusion of that report.
Well, it wasn't the conclusion of any report. There were no other reports other than February 3rd, correct?
Yes, that's
okay.
right.
And that would be interviewing Pat, the father and the husband, right?
As I said, I think effectively
Okay.
that is the core component of that report.
Okay, that's the component of the report. The answer is yes. You also had medical records from Astor Mental Health Records, right?
Yes.
That would be Jennifer Tufts.
Yes.
Jennifer McAllister, right?
I'm not sure if that's the name of another doctor in that practice, but substantially Astor Mental Health included the work of Dr. Tufts.
Dr. Tufts. And how about nurse practitioner Gelada? Did you review her records as well?
The records of hers that
morning,
came from the
Casey.
organization that she worked in, yes.
What organization was that, do you know?
I'm not exactly recalling the title of it, but I believe it's South Shore Mental Health, but I'm not exactly sure of the exact title.
Boston Children's Hospital, Brigham and Women's Hospital, and McLean Hospital records. You reviewed them, correct?
Yes.
Spalding Rehab, right?
Yep.
Tewksbury Hospital from March 27th of 23 up through April 1st of 26, which is a little bit before you saw Lindsay, right?
Correct.
They were about 7,000 pages, a lot of paper, right?
Yes.
Toxicology records, police reports, grand jury testimony, you read all that too, right?
Correct.
Police interviews of witnesses, right?
Correct.
And you had met with, I imagine, or spoken to, by telephone perhaps, with the district attorneys, the prosecutors here.
Yes.
And where did you meet them?
The prosecutors?
Yeah.
Only by phone.
Okay, so you met them by phone. When was that?
I don't know offhand when that was.
How long was the conversation?
I don't recall. It could have been somewhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes.
And basically they told you that they wanted you to evaluate a defendant who had been indicted for triple homicide of her own children by the name of Lindsay Clancy. You knew that from speaking with them, right?
Effectively, I knew that, yes.
And, you know, I normally don't go there with expert witnesses, but it was fair game on Dr. Zeisel. How much money do you make a year on your forensic evaluations?
It ranges over the years, several $100,000.
Yeah.
Can be a few.
And a lot of that,
more.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So a lot of that would be appointed cases or cases either from Park Dietz or some other warehouse that asks you to evaluate people and testify in the court, right?
Or over the years, people contact me directly.
Really?
We're talking about over the last 15 to 20 years.
Right. So when you were contacted by, strike that, did the DAs here call you or did you call them?
I don't recall.
Do you recall that they told you what a horrible case this was, that this woman killed her 3 children by strangling them? Did they tell you that?
Sustained. Next question.
Well, did you know what the factual allegations were of the case? Yes or no?
Well, all the factual allegations, yes, I believe they were conveyed to me during a phone call.
Yeah. Okay. And when you were engaged or retained through Park Dietz and Associates to work for the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office, I mean, that's fair to say. You were working for them, right?
Effectively, I was retained by the district attorney's office. Yeah.
All right. And let's talk about confirmatory bias. You know what that is?
Well, you were asking me the other day about the cognitive bias think tank, and we talked about how, as a part of my work in patient safety.
No. This is Dr.
I would like to be able
Hold on, doctor, please. Listen to the question and answer the question. Go ahead.
This is confirmatory bias, sir, not a think tank talking about safety of anybody, okay? Confirmatory bias. Have you heard of that term?
I have.
And what does it mean?
Well, if you're talking about the work in diagnosis in medicine, as I was getting at before, it refers to the idea that an individual has an idea as to what they're aiming for, and they gather information that accedes to that and that brings that point together.
Okay. So would you agree with me, sir, that when you are retained in your practice, working, whether it's for Dietz or somebody else, and you are engaged by a prosecutor, such as the Plymouth County DA's office, is it fair to say that you go into your work and your evaluation, and I hesitate to use the word investigation, but you have a confirmatory bias? You're hoping that you're going to be able to help them out, right?
No.
No. Okay. So you had read all this material, you had spoken with the prosecutors, and I imagine you had done a team back with Kirk Heilbrunn, right?
Oh, what?
You talked to Kirk Heilbrunn about the fact that you guys were going to go in and evaluate Lindsay, right?
We had worked with the prosecutors, and I believe them with you.
No, you didn't. Excuse me. You didn't work with me.
Good morning,
What do you mean?
Sarah.
You didn't work with me.
I imagine there was interactions in terms of setting up the dates on which this would occur.
I had nothing to do with it. My office manager, Laura Mather, would have done that. I had nothing to do with it, sir.
Yeah, okay, next question.
So when you went out there on the 2 days that you went out, forget the middle day, because that's when
Good morning,
Kirk was
Luna.
by himself.
This
When
guy
you went
again.
out there, the two of you met in the parking lot or the lobby, one or the other, correct?
Yes.
Yes?
I said yes.
And the purpose was to go interview her, right?
Ms. Clancy, yes.
So you guys go down the hallway, you go in the elevator, you go upstairs to the locked wards. They have to open the door. They have orderlies and people that escort you. Is that right?
Yes.
You have to sign in. You have to have ID because it's a locked ward, right?
Effectively, yes.
Effectively. And the two of you, you and Kirk, go into a room where she's sitting in her wheelchair by herself so that you two of you can interview her. Is that correct?
Yes.
For how many hours did you interview her the first time?
Good morning,
First
Melissa.
day, it was roughly ended up being about, I think, 4 or 5 hours.
And have in mind, sir, as counsel has already elicited, she's incontinent. She has issues because of being paralyzed and had to have a break, didn't she?
She did not ask for a break.
Oh, she was able to power through the 4 hours?
I don't know if that's the appropriate way to frame it. We took a break. During the interview, we discussed the schedule that she has for catheterization, if that's your question.
So you and Kirk Halbrin sat down and you questioned Lindsay, the both of you together or one at a time, or how'd that work out?
One would ask questions, and if another one
Dreamer.
had additional questions to ask about that particular topic, then the other would ask.
And she was, fair to say, she was pretty cooperative with you guys, right?
Yes.
She was polite, she was affable, right?
Yes.
She answered your questions, right?
Yes.
And then when you concluded that first day, then the next day, Kurt Heilbrunn went on his own to Tewksbury and had another multi-hour interrogation, questioning, or whatever of Lindsay, right?
He was there for a second day for psychological testing.
So you're aware of the fact that he was there for psychological testing, right?
Yeah.
Now, a psychiatrist doesn't do psychological testing. The psychologist does, right?
Typically, that's true.
And there are a number of tests that are administered to people when they are being evaluated for purposes of a criminal case such as this, right?
There is a number of different tests that test different aspects of an individual's psychiatric or psychologic or cognitive functioning.
Right. Like, for example, you want to determine, I would imagine, whether or not they're lying or exaggerating or minimizing their symptoms, right?
That's always an interest, yes.
And it's of interest because if a person is, in fact, masking or lying about their mind, trying to fake out an evaluating forensic psychiatrist or psychologist, when you say that's of interest, that's something that can be the test result that a jury could look at, right?
Well, I'm not sure if there's a test that specifically states a person is lying.
No. You ever heard of the MMPI?
I have.
Okay. You ever heard of the K scale?
Yes.
What is that?
Well, the K scale is among the internal validity scales of the MMPI. The
Okay.
MMPI is an assessment of the individual's personality.
Okay. So let's focus on the K scale, sir. When you say that it's a, let me ask you again, what is your understanding of what the K scale is seeking to find out?
I answer this in the context of the purpose of the MMPI and what the MMPI is designed.
What are you smiling for? This is not funny, sir.
Sustained. Next
Well,
question.
you know,
Next question.
MMPI, K scale, focus. What does it mean, sir?
So the
He
MMPI
said
is an
focus.
assessment of personality, and it is a set of questions that the individual responds to provide the test and to provide the user of the test to understand what is their personality like. The K scale is a set of questions embedded in the MMPI that are designed to see whether or not the individual is exaggerating in their responses, generally speaking.
Okay. Or lying, right? They call the K scale the lie scale, right?
Well, if you're simply referring to your own personality style, the issue is whether or not the answers are reliable or valid. It's not a matter of assessing if the person is lying on the MMPI.
Does the MMPI assess to any degree whether or not a person is lying, in your opinion?
No.
No? So let's stay with Dr. Mack's opinion on the K scale. What would that do? It would determine if somebody is not being truthful about their symptoms, or they're exaggerating their symptoms?
Well, the MMPI assesses the individual's personality and their thoughts about themselves. So the question is how to get an accurate reading of the person's personality. If it is the case that they are having a deviation on the K scale, then you might not utilize the MMPI as a whole. But the MMPI is not designed in a sense as a lie detector.
So what does that mean, sir, when you say if there's a manipulation of the K scale? What does that mean?
I don't think I used the word manipulation.
What word did you use?
I may have said deviation.
Okay. So if there's a deviation on the K scale, according to you, what does that mean?
It may come to a threshold that the MMPI is not usable. And
Because
the users cannot gather information about the individual's personality as a result.
Because they're lying, and it's not a reliable test, right? That's the ultimate consideration, right?
Right. So it's not saying that the person is lying. It's saying that the test is not reliable.
Because the person who's the subject of the test is not being, let's say, forthright. Is that fair?
I don't know that it's always necessarily a conscious act.
Hey, Socio Witch.
An individual, it simply reflects the tendency the individual has when answering the questions that are on that subpart of the test.
Okay, so if somebody has been indicted by the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office for triple murder, and you are working for the DA, evaluating whether or not they are suffering from a mental disease or defect, would you agree with me, sir, that there may be a tendency for somebody to exaggerate their symptoms to try to paint a positive picture of themselves?
Overrule.
Not necessarily.
Well, how about a little bit necessarily?
I don't know that there's a relationship.
Okay, so you are aware, regardless, that when Lindsay took the test for Dr. Kirk Halbrun, that there was no indication whatsoever of any malingering, exaggeration, or anything along those lines in that test. Would you agree with that?
If you're talking about the MMPI, correct.
That's what we've been talking about.
I don't even know what to say. He doesn't know what to say. Nobody knows what the hell to say right now.
I wasn't sure if he was going to answer, but let's ask the next
Yeah, okay. So you, tell me again what your answer was, sir.
That effectively, that's what the testing elicited, that her K scale effectively, it was a valid test.
Okay. Now, you, in your review of all of the records, Tufts, Gelada, McLean, you knew that one of the healthcare providers, which would be Gelada, was focusing on the possibility that Lindsay could have been suffering from bipolar 2. Is that right?
I'm aware that that was on her mind, that was something she was concerned about, yes.
And bipolar 2 is quite common, is it not, sir, as a precursor of a person who is suffering from postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis, right?
I don't understand your question.
Okay, well, how about,
What?
is it appropriate in Dr. Mack's opinion to give a person suffering from bipolar 2 or bipolar 1 an SSRI?
An individual, there is a need in one's practice, traditionally at least, that if an individual might be suffering from bipolar 1 or bipolar 2, to avoid using SSRI medications. However, that has been reduced in terms of our worry about that over time, but that was maybe 20
Absolutely,
years
she
ago,
said. If
15
he
years
could
ago,
rage quit, he would.
something that psychiatrists were more concerned about, but the concern has lessened over time.
It has. So in your opinion, sir, it's okay to give a woman who is coming to you for help, who's been diagnosed with a bipolar 2, it's okay to give her the SSRI, in your opinion. Is that what you're telling this jury?
That's not what I said.
Oh, okay. Tell me what you said.
I said the concern about the relationship between SSRIs and mania or bipolar disorder has lessened, but that doesn't necessarily mean that people's practices have changed.
And when you say mania, what does that mean to you, sir?
Mania is a state defined in the DSM. I believe we discussed this the other day.
Well, go ahead. What is it? What are the symptoms of mania?
So mania is a condition, and it's defined not only by the symptoms that I'm going to mention, but also by a time frame.
He's Googling.
And as we discussed the other day, it is a mood state that is used as a building block for bipolar type 1. So one would need to see 7 days consecutive, and where the following symptoms, 4 at least of the following symptoms are present most of the day for all of these days. And that would include a thought process called flight of ideas. Secondly, distractibility. Thirdly, an engagement in activities that are pleasurable but have painful consequences. Rapid speech, or what we would call pressured speech.
Pressured speech.
Or rapid speech. Additionally, grandiosity and an exaggerated amount or excess degree of goal-directed behavior.
And what is your, go ahead.
Go ahead.
What is your understanding, sir, of the symptoms of bipolar 2?
So bipolar 2, well, we didn't finish the definition of bipolar 1, but in terms of bipolar type 2, one would need to have had a major depressive episode. I believe we discussed that the other day as well. And also one needs to have had what's called a hypomanic episode, which is similar to a manic episode, but lesser in terms of time course that's required. And only 3 out of the 7 symptoms are required.
So bipolar 2, you would agree with me, sir, is in fact a major or serious mental illness, right?
Yes.
And your opinion, after you had your opportunity to go back again with Kirk on the 3rd day and interview Lindsay in Tewksbury Hospital. And how long did you interview her for the 3rd day, asking her questions?
I'm not sure I remember. It was perhaps 3 hours.
So after you completed your evaluation, you came to a conclusion that, in fact, Lindsay was suffering from a major mental disease or defect, to wit, bipolar 2. Is that correct?
No.
No. So why don't we look at your report and you tell me what your ultimate opinion was of your diagnosis of Lindsay after evaluating her, sir.
I think I said this the other day that my
Why don't you say it again, sir?
Yes, I'm happy to. My opinion was that, and is, that she suffered from a major depressive episode and that was a part of major depressive disorder.
Well, looking at your report, sir, on your conclusions, would you agree with? So do you have your report?
He's reading from the wrong report.
Do you have your report, sir?
Can I see it sidebar just for a second?
It's not the wrong report.
Sidebar. He's reading from his damn report. That's so funny. That's so funny. Man. All right, how long is this one? Hold on. Let's see.
He was Dog across that courtroom.
Yeah. Ooh, they side-bodied for a minute.
On page 35.
I'm making coffee. Did I
that at the
miss
time
much?
of the incident,
No,
that
he's
Lindsay
just telling us
Clancy was
Dr.
suffering
Makoff
from a
still.
mental disease, and then you have the opinion, however, she retained substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness or criminality of her conduct. Is that correct? Did I read
Yes.
that right? And the
Yes.
mental disease from which she suffered, in your opinion, was a mood disorder, major depressive episode. Is that right?
Yes.
And you further opined that she may have also had an anxiety disorder that preceded or continued to be present while the major depressive episode proceeded through January 24th. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you're aware that she has been at Tewksbury under a particular diagnosis of a mental disease or defect, right?
Yes.
What is that?
I believe it's adjustment disorder.
Adjustment disorder. Is it not your understanding, sir, that she's suffering, according to diagnosis, bipolar disorder?
I think well, you'd have to show me where you're referring to.
So did you have a chance to review Dr. Helbrin's report?
I did.
And do you know what Dr. Helbrin's opinion was? Of a
In terms of,
diagnosis.
yeah,
What was it?
I think he made a diagnosis of bipolar type 2.
So you have nurse practitioner Gelada, who, as a treating practitioner, indicates that the diagnosis possibly is bipolar disorder, correct?
I don't know that she used those terms, but I know that she was concerned about the possibility.
And you know, because you've obviously read and incorporated into your report
Did he not read the
Dr.
notes?
Resnick's opinion, correct?
Correct.
And what is Dr. Resnick's opinion, sir, to your understanding?
In terms of the diagnosis?
Yeah.
Bipolar type 2.
Okay. How about Dr. Zeisel? You also had access to and incorporated into his report, your report, his diagnosis. What was that?
No, offhand, I don't remember what his diagnosis was.
How about Meg Spinelli? Did you have a chance to review her report and incorporate that into your report?
I reviewed her report.
Do you know what her diagnosis was, sir?
I believe it was bipolar type 1.
Right. So with all of the various healthcare providers that have an opinion of bipolar type 1, would you agree that that is a very strong indicator that a person could very well be suffering from postpartum depression?
I'm confused by your question because that last piece is not necessarily inconsistent with the diagnosis of major depressive episode.
I'm asking you, sir, about
what I discussed the other day was when that specifier is able to be used, that would be a diagnostic question.
So with the understanding that nurse practitioner Gelada is bipolar, or looking at bipolar, that Zeisel report, you don't know or recall what it is, but you incorporated it into your report. Dr. Resnick is bipolar too. You feel that this is or is not indicative of a precursor to a person suffering from postpartum depression? It's in the books, in the articles, right?
Your use of terms, to me, seems apples and oranges. The question of postpartum depression would be, does the person have a mood disorder, and is it in the time frame following birth?
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
So,
I can't, can you say that again, please?
we're talking about categories that are not aligned with each other.
No, I'm asking you what your answer
My
was,
diagnosis-
okay? What's your answer?
You'd have to restate the question.
Okay. You recall Friday, sir, that you were talking about onset of postpartum depression symptoms occurring within a particular time frame. Do you recall that, sir?
The diagnosis would
No,
be
my
a
question is
depressive
simple. Do you
episode.
recall saying what the time frame was Friday?
I'm trying to answer your question.
What is the
The
time frame?
time frame designated for the diagnostic specifier called with postpartum onset is 4 weeks.
Okay. And that's your opinion, right?
Well, I believe that's what the DSM says. It's a
Okay.
4-week
So
period
let's
in
talk
which-
about,
the 4-week period in which that specifier may be added.
okay. You recall saying
The
that
diagnostic rule.
you recall saying that a person can be postpartum and it has to be within 4 weeks. Do you recall saying that Friday?
You can't
What I
handle the
would have
truth.
intended to say,
No.
Which I believe
What
I
did you say to the, come on. What did you say to the
All right,
jury
hold on,
last
hold on.
Friday?
Doctor, please listen to the question and just answer the question as asked, okay? And then if the Commonwealth has any redirect, they can follow up with their questions. Go ahead.
Thank you. Do you recall saying that the person has to be postpartum within 4 weeks, according to the DSM? Recall saying
to
that?
meet that specifier, yes.
Right. Well, do you understand, sir, that every woman that has a baby for the rest of their life is postpartum? Because postpartum, quite frankly, means having a baby, right?
Sure.
So,
But that wouldn't be the specifier of with postpartum onset.
yeah, but you
in the
can't,
DSM.
postpartum is not a disease, doctor.
Right,
Postpartum,
it's an appellation that is defined in terms of 4 weeks.
okay, according to you, right? You understand that World Health Organization is different, right?
If you're talking about the ICD,
What is that time frame, sir?
I'm not sure what it is. I think you said it was 12 weeks.
How about the proposal to amend the DSM-5 text revision, or TR? What's the proposal for that?
Well, there's a proposal specifically around the proposed diagnosis called postpartum psychosis, and for that, it's a 6-week period.
So
So how can
got
postpartum be
4
4
weeks,
weeks, but
you got 6
postpartum
weeks,
psychosis can be
you got
6?
12 weeks. Would you agree, sir, that postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis can occur up to a year or even a year or longer?
I don't know, but I am telling you what the DSM says in terms of how
I
to
don't
diagnose
know.
it and how to code it.
Okay. You would agree, sir, that she is at Tewksbury with a diagnosis of bipolar, right?
That may be among her diagnoses.
Okay. And she's on medication, right?
Yes?
And she hasn't had, over the past 3.5 years, any problems with sleep, anxiety, depression, symptomology of the same while she's been medicated at Tewksbury, right?
She has not demonstrated any signs of mania.
And she hasn't demonstrated any signs of anxiety either, has she, while she's been on the medication, the right medication, right?
I note that she's complaining of anxiety. I'm not sure she's demonstrating signs of anxiety.
Other than the fact that she's paralyzed and has to be in a wheelchair, she's not exhibiting the inability to bathe, the inability to emote, to have feelings, to talk to people. She's able to communicate with people, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what medications that she's on while she's at Tewksbury?
She's taking, I think we discussed this the other day, a low dose of Zyprexa, I believe clonidine and trazodone, and propranolol occasionally.
Okay. Now, after you had a chance to review the medical records from Dr. Tufts, which would be from end of September of 22 up through October of 22, for example, initial prescription, right?
I've reviewed all of the records from Dr. Tufts, yes.
And you recall what the first prescription was that she got, right?
Sertraline?
And that would be what, 25?
Yes,
Was that increased?
it was.
And was there an issue or a problem, according to Lindsay, when that was increased from 25 to 50?
Yes.
And what was the problem that she indicated to the doctor?
She wanted to sleep, but she was finding it hard to sleep.
She was unable to sleep for a period in excess of 48 hours, is what she said, right?
I think it was at that point, yes.
And also, she indicated that there was, in her opinion, a symptom that she didn't really have a need to sleep, even though she had gone 48 hours without sleeping, right?
No, she wanted to sleep.
Well, would you agree with me, sir?
She was tolerating, she described that she was tolerating during the daytime and functional sufficiently without the sleep, but she found that she was
But
trying
that's
very
not
hard to
healthy
sleep,
now,
and she
is
couldn't
it?
sleep.
People need to sleep.
And do you recall her indicating that she did not feel, regardless of 48 hours straight without sleep, that she had a need? She said she didn't feel like she had a need to sleep. Did you see that in the records?
Well, I'm not sure that it would be characterized that way.
Did you
As she
see?
discussed
Okay.
with us.
What do
Did
you
you
mean
see
it's not
anything in the
characterized that
Wanted
way?
to sleep.
All right, one at a time. Go ahead, Mr. Wright.
Did you see anything in the records that indicated that she complained of the fact that she had gone 48 hours without sleeping after she was on the sertraline, and then felt that she did not need to sleep, even though she'd been without for 48 hours?
I don't exactly recall what was written by Dr. Tufts, but she described to me that in that period.
Doctor, I'm asking you about the medical records, not what you think she told you 3 years later. The medical records.
The medical records review the fact that she was not able to sleep.
And would you agree with me that one of the symptoms, sir, that you would be concerned about as a psychiatrist is when a woman who is postpartum, after having a baby, is complaining of a number of symptoms, one of which is that she went a long period of time unable to sleep, but didn't feel that she had the need to sleep. That's textbook, isn't it?
Well, the DSM textbook refers to a decreased need for sleep as the seventh element of mania.
Okay, so that is an indicia of mania. Can I get that out of you?
The way it's written is a decreased need for sleep.
Okay.
I don't know that she has a decreased need for sleep.
And then
She
the
was
medical.
trying very
Go
hard.
ahead.
I think she desperately wanted to sleep.
Is that what you think,
Physically,
sir?
medically
Or is that
speaking,
what
after
your
48
opinion
hours,
is
she needed
based on
to
the
sleep.
medical records?
That is my understanding based on the totality of the information.
She can feel like she doesn't need to sleep, but medically
Is
speaking,
it
she
your
needs to
understanding
sleep.
that she also exhibited signs or symptoms of postpartum depression?
So to the extent that she had depression in a period after having had a baby, that is not how DSM would refer to it, but as you said, everybody would be postpartum in that regard. So my opinion is that she had major depressive episodes in this year or within 4 or 5 months following birth.
Sir, you're familiar with the postpartum psychosis. You're familiar with that, right?
So there's the concept of having psychosis.
Are you
in the-
familiar
That was a
with
yes or no
postpartum
answer.
Psychosis, sir? Yes or no?
I'm familiar with a proposed diagnostic entity called postpartum psychosis, and the idea that people can have psychosis as a mental disorder at other times.
You're familiar with the Department of Mental Health in Massachusetts, right?
Yes.
Familiar with the funding of the Department of Mental Health for the Child Psychiatry Access product? You're familiar with that, right?
No.
Well, the MCPAP that focuses on postpartum psychosis and postpartum depression. Are you familiar with that, sir?
No.
Would you agree with me that when a person has a child and is within the postpartum period, that they may present to a doctor with symptoms that might lead the doctor to believe that they are suffering from postpartum depression? Would you agree with that?
I'm not familiar with that particular program. I'm happy to.
All right, no, I know you're happy, but I'm just asking, sir, about postpartum depression. Forget the program. You're not familiar with the program. We get it. I'm asking you now, sir, about your familiarity with postpartum depression.
Yes.
Throw out me too. Congratulations.
And there are symptoms of postpartum depression. Fair to say?
Postpartum depression.
Are there symptoms, sir? Yes.
I am familiar.
Okay. And forget the DSM. Let's just focus on the symptoms as you understand it for postpartum depression, which according to you has to occur within the first 4 weeks of birth. But quite frankly, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 12 weeks, it could be a year, right?
You said forget the DSM, except that making diagnoses in psychiatry requires an authority, and we utilize, in this country, the DSM.
Maybe we shouldn't?
All right, sustained. Next question.
So are you familiar, sir? You're not familiar
It's
with
a
MCPAP
guideline,
for
not a-
mothers in Massachusetts. You're not familiar with that subsidiary of the Department of Mental Health, right?
No.
Are you familiar with the Department of Mental Health postpartum psychosis provider training? In other words, what the LISCWs are learning and what the psychologists or psychiatrists working for the DMH are learning about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis. Are you familiar with those standards?
No.
How about the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale? We talked about that Friday. You're familiar with that, sir?
I am.
But you don't feel it's important. You think the regular GAD scale, general anxiety scale, is sufficient, I guess, right?
I don't think I said that.
Oh, okay. So do you think that the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale is important as a tool for a diagnosing physician dealing with a woman that's within the time frame and exhibiting symptoms of postpartum depression?
Yes.
Okay. So what was Lindsay's scale, if you know now? You had the weekend, I imagine, to look it up.
I don't offhand know what it was.
Okay. So if I offhand told you that it was pretty much off the chart, would that have any impact on your opinion as to the utility of the postnatal depression scale that was administered to her?
That kind of come with a question.
No, sustained. I mean, overruled. Let me ask. Sorry.
It's a scale that elicits distress, which she had, and it elicits depression, which she had.
And it's not just limited to distress and depression. It's focused on, and again, I'll read it, the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale, right?
Right.
So, no, the answer's right.
She had diagnosis of depression. She was being treated for depression.
All right. So you, in any event, you don't utilize, apparently, the EPDS, right? You don't utilize it in your practice, whatever that may be.
Correct.
Okay.
Not that I'm against it. I just haven't had the opportunity to use it in some
Right.
time.
Just like you think that, an episiotomy is a tear, I guess, when a person has a baby, right?
I'm sorry?
You remember Friday you said that when a baby is born and the woman suffers a tear, that you called it a particular name?
An episiotomy.
Right.
When there's a need for a tear, there are several different degrees.
No, wait a minute. Hold on now. Hold on.
Episiotomy is not a tear.
Friday, you said that the episiotomy is, in fact, a tear. Do you remember saying that?
I'm not sure exactly the wording.
Did somebody tell you that you were way off base on that testimony Friday, sir?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
I'm referring to you saying that an episiotomy is a tear. And it's not.
And Your Honor, is there a question before the witness?
I already asked the question. I'm looking at him staring back at me.
All right, why don't you
The last,
just, hold on. Oh, you can rephrase that.
Do you remember saying Friday that episiotomy is a tear? Do you remember saying that to this jury, sir?
I don't remember the exact words that I stated.
Okay. Did anybody
After a tear.
did anybody over the weekend tell you that in fact you were wrong and that it is a surgical procedure and that a natural tear has nothing to do with that procedure other than repairing? Did anybody talk to you about that at all over the weekend?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you would agree with me at least that postpartum depression, even though you don't use the EPDS, does have symptoms that a doctor would consider if a patient. Yes or no?
So
Yes or no?
you're asking me about a condition which
Right.
is not the way that it's defined.
I'm asking you, sir, whether or not you understand as a doctor that if a woman has a baby and comes to you because she is in trouble, that you would look for symptoms, would you not? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if the woman told you that she was less able to laugh, no emotion, unable to see the funny side, is that a symptom, sir, in your opinion, of postpartum depression? Yes or no?
It's a symptom of depression.
Was Lindsay Clancy complaining that she was unable to laugh or emote or see the funny side, if you will, of life when she went to see Dr. Tufts and Dr. Gelada? Do you recall that, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so let's just say the next issue would be stopped looking forward to things. You're familiar with that? People don't look forward to things, and they, what is that called? Anhedonia or something like that?
Right. So that was one of the several elements of major depressive episode that I referred to the other.
Right, but it's also one of the symptoms of postpartum depression, correct?
They are the same. When
Okay.
you have depression and
How-
you meet the qualifier, then you can
Yes
call it
or
you can call
no?
it depression with postpartum onset.
How about a person that comes to you and says that they're anxious and worried constantly for no good reason? Would you agree, sir, yes or no, that that's a symptom of postpartum depression, according to the authorities?
So
Can you answer that yes or no,
Yes
sir? It's real easy.
or
All
no?
right, hold on. If you can't answer the question as asked, doctor, just say you can't answer it as asked, and I'll ask counsel to rephrase it. Go ahead.
Yes.
So would you agree with me, sir, that the next symptom of postpartum depression would be anxious or worried for no good reason?
So I can't
that-
answer that question.
You can't. You can't?
I said I can't.
Okay. Was Lindsay Clancy expressing to the doctors and the nurse practitioners and the LICSWs or whatever on the medical records that she was anxious and worried on a daily basis for no apparent reason?
Yes.
Did Lindsay Clancy also indicate that she would have episodes of fear or panic for no good reason?
Yes.
Did she also indicate, sir, that she was overwhelmed by life, basically, overwhelmed?
Yes.
Did she also indicate that she was so unhappy and worried and anxious that she had trouble sleeping?
Yes.
Did she indicate that she was sad or miserable and unable to enjoy things like family, friends, society?
That is a symptom that progressed as those months moved on. Yes.
Sure did. Did she also say that she's unhappy? She was so unhappy that she was crying on a daily basis.
Yes.
Did she also indicate that she had thoughts of harming herself?
Well, or suiciding. Yes.
So if she's successful in harming herself and she dies, then it's suicide. Either way, it's a thought of harming herself, right?
I don't think she had the interest of harming herself simply for the interest of harming herself. She had the interest of suiciding.
And she wasn't successful, obviously, right?
Are you referring to January 24th?
So the postpartum depression, sir, which
Anytime she's
invariably
still here,
involves
buddy.
the EPDS, which you don't use, consists of 1 to 10 symptoms, and she hits every one in the medical records that you reviewed. Is that correct?
First of all, I'm not sure what well, I can't answer the question as you've asked it. I'll put it.
Let's talk about postpartum psychosis, because that is something that can follow postpartum depression. Is that right?
You're using terms that make it that I can't answer your question.
Postpartum psychosis, you can't answer? You know what that is, don't you?
Are you referring to the proposed diagnosis that we referred to earlier? The one
I'm referring to the fact that this young lady was suffering from postpartum psychosis when she killed her kids. Do you know what postpartum psychosis means?
So there is a observation that a person may have psychosis, or there is the proposed diagnosis that we referred to the other day.
Let's do this. Symptoms of postpartum psychosis. Number 1, hearing voices. Would you agree, sir, that hearing voices is indicative of having a symptom of postpartum psychosis?
You're referring to a condition or an illness
The answer's
called
yes,
postpartum psychosis,
buddy.
and I don't know that I can answer questions as a psychiatrist based on that.
Would you agree,
Whether
sir,
or
that
not
when
hearing
a person
voices is a symptom of
suffering
psychosis?
from postpartum psychosis, you understand that term, do you not?
When we elicit,
Do you understand the term postpartum psychosis? It's real easy. Do you understand that term?
It's actually not easy. It's serious, but when we do elicit psychosis after a birth, we take it very seriously. Typically,
who's we? Who's we? We take it seriously. Who's we?
We psychiatrists. I, as a psychiatrist.
Yeah. So, would you agree with me, sir, that when you are diagnosing, if you do, a patient that's coming to you for help after having a baby, so it's postpartum, and has been through, let's say, postpartum depression, and is now complaining of hearing voices or a voice commanding her to act, that is a symptom of postpartum psychosis, yes or no?
Yes. Just say it.
Is it?
Yes, we all know what the answer is, buddy.
I don't know exactly based on your hypothetical as to whether it would count as the proposed postpartum psychosis illness. Disease, but it certainly would be a concerning symptom or sign.
Okay, so if you had administered the Edinburgh test, that is something that may have assisted you in evaluating the claim that the person is hearing voices, because that's one of the things that you would be concerned about with a patient, right?
You're always concerned if you're encountering somebody who's hearing voices, especially if they're new.
Especially if they're a mother, right?
Anybody.
How about thought broadcasting? You ever heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. How about a patient that says that they're worried about hearing voices and they're worried that people such as teachers could hear the voices in their head? Is that something that would concern you?
Yes.
How about if the person was afraid that somebody is able to hear the voices in their head and would call the police or DCF and they'd lose their kids? Is that something that would concern you?
Hypothetically, yes, it would be a concern.
How about actually in this
Not
case with Lindsay Clancy? Did you come across that in all of your investigation?
I came across, in my evaluation, a period where she worried that people could hear what she was thinking. That's different, first of all, from thought broadcasting. But in either event, as I've said, she was in a serious psychiatric state, and she was suffering.
How about number 2, postpartum psychosis symptomology, delusional beliefs with distorted reality? Did she complain to Tufts or gelada about having distorted reality being disassociated. Things weren't real. Do you recall coming across that?
So there were times that
Yes
in the
or
context
no?
of some of the medication she was taking that she felt that things weren't real, yes.
Okay, so
Or that
my
she felt,
question, sir,
uncomfortable.
my question, sir, is whether or not she complained of that to her health care providers. You'd agree with me
Yes.
that she did, right?
Yes.
Okay. How about appears normal in between episodes, calm, even laughing? Would you agree with me, sir, that postpartum psychosis waxes and wanes? It comes and it goes, right?
So are you referring to a particular
I'm asking you a
story?
simple question. Do you
quote?
agree that postpartum psychosis waxes and wanes, that it can come out of nowhere and then leave, and a person can appear normal? They can even laugh. Would you agree with that, sir?
Are you referring to postpartum psychosis and illness? Or the findings of psychosis in somebody who's postpartum?
I'm asking you about Lindsay Clancy, the young lady that's sitting right here that you're testifying against in front of this jury, telling this jury that she was responsible for the death of her children. You with me?
I'm not sure I understand exactly the context that you just stated.
Okay,
But
the
if your
context
question
I'm giving it
about
is,
the natural course of an illness called postpartum psychosis. That illness has not been refined. It's not something that we in psychiatry, at least as far as I'm aware, can talk about as an illness where we understand its typical course. And
okay,
we understand
time out.
All right, hold on. Let him finish. Doc, you done with that answer?
I'm done.
Okay, good.
You're telling me, sir, that you don't believe or buy postpartum psychosis. Is that what you're telling me?
That's got to be it.
I didn't say that at all.
Okay. So you do believe that postpartum psychosis is a
My
serious
question would be,
mental
what do you
illness?
expect to see in postpartum psychosis?
I don't think
Everything
it's a
your
matter of
patient
belief or not
presented with.
belief. I'm aware of how to elicit the symptom or sign of psychosis. I am also aware that there's a proposal for an illness that would be recognized, where we understand its typical course and how it progresses, that has been proposed and that has not been approved for use in psychiatry in the United States.
Approved by who?
By the American Psychiatric Association.
The APA. So you
Hold on.
By the team that let me, if I can finish, by
That's
the
the judge you're
particular
talking to, not
body
me.
within the American Psychiatric.
Do you agree that postpartum psychosis is a legitimate disease or defect? Yes or no?
When you have a symptom or sign of postpartum of psychosis at any time, but particularly in the postpartum period, it is a legitimate finding and something to be concerned about and to treat.
Okay. And when you say within the time frame, you're referring to the Dr. Mack time frame of 4 weeks, right?
No, I think, as I said, any time that a person has psychosis.
Okay, so
The issue about 4 weeks has to do with how we would diagnose it or what wording we would use to diagnose it, but that doesn't have to do with the reality of the individual.
Okay, so anytime that there is a psychosis, and if it's postpartum, you would agree that you can put the two words together and it's postpartum psychosis, right?
You would not utilize that in your diagnostic terminology.
Well, you would agree,
You
sir,
would see
that
it and you would be concerned about it. According to the DSM, you would not
right,
utilize
well,
that.
I'm sorry. Doc, if you could repeat that answer. We had some problems following it. Go ahead.
So the presence of psychosis is always of concern, especially if it's new onset. To the extent that we are talking about
Regular
the proper
psychosis and
terminology
postpartum psychosis are not the same.
labeling something, whether it is postpartum onset or not, the DSM provides guidance as to the time frame. That is different than my saying that it is a not serious condition.
so Symptom number one, complaint, according to the Mass General Hospital, major research project, along with the Department of Mental Health, dealing with postpartum psychosis, would indicate that hearing voices, a voice commanding her to act, is a symptom of postpartum psychosis. Do you agree with that? Yes or no? Just give me a yes or no.
I can't answer. I'm not
Okay,
sure what
the answer is
authority-
no. The answer is no.
All right, he just doesn't agree with it. Next question.
You answered these questions several times now.
Really?
Overruled. We're gonna let him ask that question if you want to ask that again.
So let's move on, sir, so we don't fight over number one. How about number two? Delusional beliefs, distorted reality. Would you agree that that's a symptom of postpartum psychosis, sir? Yes
You
or no?
said number one, number two. I don't know what authority you're referring to.
Do you agree, sir, that a symptom of postpartum psychosis, in addition to the hearing of the voices, would be delusional beliefs and a distorted reality?
Yes or no?
I can't answer because I still don't know if you're referring to the phenomenon of psychosis or you're referring to some illness.
I'm referring to the
Oh,
illness
Jesus
that
Christ.
Lindsay Clancy was suffering that's in her medical record, sir, that you tell this jury you read. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I didn't find any evidence of psychosis in her record.
Okay.
Other than
Was there any was there any indication that she was hearing voices? Did she complain about that, sir? Yes or no?
she complained about intrusive thoughts,
Okay.
if that's where you're referring.
How about the delusional beliefs and distorted reality? Do you recall her complaining about distorted reality, sir? Yes or no?
I'm not sure she used
Oh my
those
God!
terms. If you're referring
No, never mind what I'm referring to. Your answer is no, right?
No, she did not display psychotic features.
I didn't ask about psychotic features. I'm asking you about delusional beliefs and distorted reality, doctor.
That is a type of psychosis.
Okay.
So I didn't see any evidence of any psychotic features throughout the medical records.
So it's your understanding from reviewing her medical records that Lindsay never indicated that she was not participating in reality, that she was in a disassociated state, that she was out of touch with reality. You're telling this jury you never saw that?
I did see that evidence, that component that you discussed with their
Good.
physician.
Great.
I don't see that as a sign, strictly speaking, of psychosis. It may have been in some cases, but
Right.
I
Like,
don't see any signs of psychosis or delusions.
like this postpartum psychosis, sir, you'd
You and
agree
me both,
that
Tess.
delusional beliefs, distorted reality is a symptom. Yes or no? Not waxing and waning with your answer. Yes or no?
Are you referring to an authority there?
Doctor,
You agree.
Doctor, hold on. Here's the way this works, all right? You don't really ask a lot of questions. You answer the questions, all right? If I told you before, if you can't answer a question the way it's framed, just let me know, and I'll tell counsel to frame it in a different way, all right? So that's the rules. That's how it works here. So go ahead, Mr. Reddington.
Thank you. Would you agree, sir, that a symptom of postpartum psychosis with a woman who is coming to a physician for treatment indicates that they appear to have normal periods between episodes of disassociation where they're calm, they're even laughing, and they can drive cars, they can talk to people, they can use telephones, all of that, right?
It would be, that description may be of other things,
Yes
but
or
it's not necessarily
no?
of psychosis.
How about severe sleep deprivation, sir? Do you agree that severe sleep deprivation is a symptom when you're considering the whole of the patient complaining of various symptoms? Severe sleep deprivation is a symptom of postpartum psychosis.
I can't answer the question the way you phrased it.
Okay, so let's say postpartum psychosis, you're somewhat familiar with it, and would you agree that severe sleep deprivation is a symptom of it?
I can't answer the question the way
Okay,
you
you
phrased
can't answer it, okay. How about rapid mood swings? Would you agree that rapid mood swings are a symptom of postpartum psychosis, sir?
I'm Not sure I understand your question.
Okay. How about a person
What?
saying that they're not herself? I want to be myself. I want to go back to being myself. I can't be myself. Is that a complaint that is a symptom of postpartum psychosis, sir?
It might be, if the person has psychosis.
Okay, the answer is it might be. Did Lindsay Clancy indicate that she wanted to go back to being herself?
Yes.
Now, did she also, was there any evidence, sir, of thoughts of harming her children?
There were periods when she had impulses or intrusive thoughts about harming her children.
And when you say intrusive, if I come to you and if a person comes to you and postpartum psychosis is on your radar and says that they're having intrusive thoughts about harming their children, would you not ask them what that means? In other words, is it a voice in their head? Is it their thought process? What is it? Do you ask that question?
Of course.
Did anybody ask that question when she was complaining about having intrusive thoughts about suicide, for example? Did anybody ask her what that meant? Voices in the head or thoughts?
I believe that the clinicians at McLean, at Mass General, Dr. Gelada, Dr. Tufts all asked about or all made inquiries to understand the nature of her
This man
suicidal
doesn't
ideation.
answer
Do
the
you
question one
believe
more
that
time. He needs to be
based
held
on
in
your
contempt.
review of the medical records and based on your review of the numerous cocktail of drugs that were prescribed to her, that she received good medical care from Gelada and Tufts?
No, ruled.
I don't have an opinion on that.
You're here for your opinion, buddy.
Did she complain that she was not herself and her family could see the change?
Yes.
Okay. Did she also complain of thoughts of suicide?
Yes.
Did she also have poor insight?
I'm not sure that she had poor insight.
Well, if you are looking at postpartum psychosis and the symptoms are 1 through 10, if a person is complaining to
Thank
you
you,
as a
Messi.
doctor, and when I say complain, I don't mean complaining, I mean that's medical language, that they're complaining or giving you a symptom, of 1 through 9, that is a very, very strong indicia that the person is suffering from postpartum psychosis, is it not?
1 through 9. I'm not sure I can answer that question.
Okay. How about blood tests? You think they're important when you're dealing with prescribing medications like Tufts was after a month?
They can be.
And do you think, sir, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty that a person should be given a basic blood test when you're prescribing these medications to them?
No, overruled.
There are some situations where blood tests are required or needed, and other times when psychiatrists may feel comfortable making prescriptions without such tests.
So there is a further test that can be given that would actually determine whether or not a person's enzymes are reacting to the drugs, the narcotics that are being prescribed to them. Isn't that right?
You say narcotics?
Well, drugs, you know,
sure.
like sertraline or...
Can you say the question again?
Sure, prescriptions. When a person is prescribed
Red's about to have a stroke.
it is well within reason that a competent physician would, number one, take a simple blood test, right?
It's possible.
Okay. And I guess that's up to the doctor that you're seeing, right?
Well, sure, or depends on what concerns the person may have, what's their medical history, what's your awareness of other factors that are affecting their biological health.
So let's take Lindsay Clancy.
Depends on which medication we're talking about also.
Let's take Lindsay Clancy, for example, sir. The medical records that you reviewed when she's dealing with Tufts and Gelada, did they administer any blood tests to her at all?
Not that I recall.
Is there a further analyses that can be performed on the blood that is drawn from the woman when she sees the doctor to
Hey,
determine
Clarity.
whether or not there are enzyme reactions to the prescription drugs that they're prescribed.
There are tests that can be done to determine the relative degree of one enzyme or another and how much they would do in terms of breaking down the medications, if that's what you're talking about.
Well, that test wasn't administered to Lindsay, was it?
I don't think so.
In spite of innumerable, which we won't have to go through, complaints that she had and her husband about what was happening to her as a result of her postpartum, as
You
well
are not
as
kidding.
postpartum depression, symptomology of postpartum psychosis in conjunction with the narcotics, the drugs, the prescriptions that she was given. They never did any further testing, right?
Correct.
How about thyroid? Is that something that's important to you as a doctor dealing with a postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis?
Thyroid would be important to assess in a person complaining of mood problems, yes.
Well, how about a woman who is complaining that during the postpartum, which goes on ad infinitum, is complaining of postpartum depression symptoms and or postpartum psychosis? It's important to check their thyroid level, isn't it?
It would be important to check thyroid in multiple different psychiatric conditions.
So the answer is yes, right? The answer is yes.
Well, I'm not sure that.
Yeah, Parody, we
specifically
started
answers
a
your
little bit
question.
late.
I
So
don't
I
care.
started from the
Thank
beginning.
you. That's all I have, Judge.
Okay. Comment
Hopefully we'll
redirect?
be caught up by the break.
Good morning, Dr. Mack. Now, defense counsel kept referring to your investigation in this case. Do you see your role as an investigator when you're retained to do these evaluations?
No.
And in fact, you are evaluating for a specific question, correct?
That's correct.
And in your evaluation in this case, you were asked to focus on the mental condition of Lindsay Clancy at the time of January 24, 2023, right?
So, excuse me, he's able to answer yes or no, but this is direct, so I'm objecting to the leading.
I'm going to allow just to kind of focus to the area, and then we'll go from there. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you. You can answer that question.
Yes.
Now, were you provided the information that you reviewed?
Yes.
And were you aware where that came from, whether it was the court or the district attorney's office or from defense?
I'm not necessarily aware of the origin of any of the documents that I reviewed, only that I did review them and I did possess them.
And as far as the timing of when you were retained in this case, I believe your testimony on Friday was that your memory was early 2025 you were retained. Is that right?
Yes, I would say that the initial discussion about it was at the end of 2024. I am not exactly sure when the Commonwealth or the District Attorney's Office exactly made the retention happen, but I understand it to be early 2025.
And you were provided a significant amount of information after you were retained.
So is she
correct?
trying to say he had too much information?
Yeah.
He couldn't
And
check
that
it all?
information continued to come to you up until the point that you were going to meet with the defendant in April of 2026. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
And were you able to set up that interview with her on your own?
No.
Is it your understanding that it had to be with the permission of the court and the parties?
That's my understanding.
And that date in April was a date
Just
that
tell
was
him what to say,
provided
lady.
to
You're
you,
obviously doing it.
as a date that you could go and speak with her, correct?
Yes, the two dates, April 10th and April 12th.
And in conducting these evaluations, is it standard or best practice to review as much information as you can prior to that interview.
That's correct.
And you were provided records from the Tewksbury State Hospital in the weeks prior to your interview. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Now, when you're retained on cases, this case and any other, you're paid for your time and your work regardless of what your ultimate opinion is, correct?
That's right.
Can you explain to us the relationship that you have with Park Dietz and Associates?
Yes. There are times that attorneys around the country go to Park Dietz and Associates seeking or asking if they have an expert in a particular field, and Park Dietz and Associates may be able to propose one expert or another who might be able to help that attorney or law firm.
And so in your relationship with that company, you are simply an independent contractor, or are you employed by the company?
Independent contractor.
And fair to say, there's not kind of a group email that somebody can send out asking for experts on all these types of areas in which you testify, right?
No, the Park Dietz and Associates would go to individual experts that they think might be appropriate for one or another case given the topic.
Now, you were asked some questions about Dr. Halbrin, and I think last week on Friday you indicated that you didn't know him prior to working on this case. Is that correct?
Correct. I had never met him.
And so is he a name that was familiar to you in your area of general psychiatry?
I knew that he was another expert that works with the Park Dietz and Associates group, but I had never met him.
And in fact, he's not a general psychiatrist, is he?
I believe he's a psychologist.
Okay. And so your focus is different than his focus, correct?
To some degree, yes.
Now, how did it come about that you and Dr. Halbrin ended up going to Tewksbury at the same time?
Well, my memory is that to the extent that he also had been retained, that there was a need to that there was only going to be one opportunity for an examination by the prosecution. And so rather than create two different sets of interviews for Ms. Clancy, it was better to overlap them and have them happen concurrently.
And in relation to the purpose of the interview with the person being evaluated, the defendant here, was there anything different about your approach and his approach as far as the information you were seeking to gather?
Generally, no. As has been mentioned, he went ahead and did psychological testing on the second day. But other than that, it's still the same topic, the individual's mental health.
And in regards to that particular, those days that you were there, it wasn't just you and Dr. Halbrin in the room with the defendant, correct?
That's right.
Who else was in the room?
One person who served as a videographer, two individuals who served as videographers.
Do you know who retained the videographer?
I don't.
And you're aware that Ms. Clancy was also on a one-to-one. So was there a staff member from Tewksbury close by, if not in the room?
Close by, but not in the room.
And the person who was conducting the video, they were in the room running the video the whole time?
That's correct.
And fair to say, as it pertains
Who's
to
had enough
taking
of this
breaks,
guy?
You and Dr. Halbrin offered the defendant multiple opportunities to take a break, correct?
Yes.
And
we made it clear that we could take a break anytime.
And she repeatedly declined a break, right?
I recall that, yes.
Okay. And that would be contained within the video, that was running throughout the course of your interaction with her, correct?
Yes.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to present as the next exhibit the recorded interview with the experts.
All right, I see counsel at sidebar.
So is this about a bathroom break or is credentials? Like, come on, prosecution.
That you were involved in. You recall that line of questioning?
I do.
And in that case, you were retained by the state of Florida. Is that right?
Yes, the executive office of the governor.
And you offered an opinion in that case, correct?
I thought he didn't remember.
Yes.
And was that testimony or by way of a declaration or a report?
It was a report and then there was a deposition.
And so you were part of a hearing with the court in Florida to determine whether your ultimate opinions could be considered in the case, correct?
I don't think that there was a specific separate hearing up to that point.
Okay.
My recollection is that in the phase of a summary judgment proceeding, that the use of my testimony was discussed in the summary judgment documents from each side.
And then ultimately, your opinion wasn't utilized by the court, correct?
If I recall the statement of the court in the document, it was that Dr. Mike is not an expert in this case, or it may have said Dr. Mike is not a qualified expert in this case.
And why was that?
My recollection of the case, which is now almost 15 years ago.
Now we got recollection.
The information that I was aware of in terms of the rate of substance use in individuals who received TANF was nationwide and was not specific to Florida.
And the issue was a Florida TANF case, right? Having to do with residents in the state of Florida. So as far as the limitations there and your testimony in these types of cases could be nationwide.
Katie, he's married.
In
No
that
way.
particular case, it was just that you didn't have enough information about the residents in that state, correct?
Well, that was
Okay, if you can answer that, and then go ahead.
my understanding is that that was one of the elements by which the court determined or made the statement that it did.
Okay. And you were offering some opinions about your expertise in the area of addiction during that time period, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Had nothing to do with criminal responsibility.
Correct.
Now, you talked a lot with defense counsel about the DSM, so I don't want to go too far into it, but on Friday, you directed Attorney Reddington to a particular part of the bipolar and related disorder chapter having to do with specifiers. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And you directed him to page 173, which referred to the specifier with peripartum onset. Can you just explain to us first what is a specifier when we're talking about the DSM?
Thank you, Susan.
Specifiers are a way in which the DSM allows a diagnostician to highlight certain details of the individual's presentation. But as I was mentioning the other day, psychiatric classification nowadays refers to the larger presenting symptoms that the individual has, and specifiers can be added on. So a person can have a severe mood disorder, and then one can add on the specifier of with postpartum onset, or atypical features, or other specifiers that have been defined.
And so when you were referring to page 173, where it starts the long paragraph about with peripartum onset, is that the portion of the specifier categories for bipolar related disorders where we're talking about postpartum periods?
Yes, there's a defined way in which a person can add as a diagnosis whether or not there was onset in that particular time frame.
And that's where we find the 4-week timeline, correct?
Correct.
And it also talks about different mood episodes, including manic and depressive episodes in that section, right?
That's right.
And that section also talks about the fact that it could present, mood episodes could present with psychotic symptoms and without psychotic symptoms, or psychotic features, I should say. Is that right?
Right. Bipolar disorder is a disorder of mood. Abnormal mood is what the diagnostician observes and is aware of. And if there is a way to determine that it's a major depressive episode or a manic episode or a hypomanic episode, that will help to determine if this severe mood condition is bipolar or major depressive disorder.
And so in that regard, the same specifier is also part of the major depressive category, correct? As
right. As I said, the specifiers provide detail, but they are not the, so to speak, the major element of the diagnosis. The major element of the diagnoses in DSM are the observable major symptoms and signs.
Well, I'm asking about just what's contained within those specifiers, because you and counsel went back and forth quite a bit on Friday about what's in there and what's not in the DSM when it comes to the peripartum onset. But as far as in both the specifier for bipolar and depressive disorder, there are a number of those features that you were discussing that is in the DSM as a specifier. Okay.
Yeah.
And those are presentation with psychotic features, the frequency of occurrence or reoccurrence of the peripartum onset for these disorders, right? That's
You're
in there.
lying, Katie.
That's that, yes.
As well as the risk of postpartum episodes being greater when people have history of depressive disorders or bipolar disorder. That's within that specifier for each of those 2 chapters, is it not?
Yes, that portion of the specifier is a description of what's been observed over time. It's not necessarily the criteria, but it's the observations that have been so commonly observed that they were able to write that in the manual.
So this concept of a peripartum onset, or we've been using it as postpartum interchangeably, it's within the DSM-5, right?
Yes, the DSM-5
Look at Reddington. He's like,
provides a manner by which to make a diagnosis that provides this specification or highlights this detail of the individual's illness.
And as far as your conclusions, again, when you're asked to do an evaluation, do you rely on other people's conclusions about diagnosis when making your own diagnosis?
yes.
It's important to understand what others have observed and what they're concerned about. And then as a physician, one will make one's own diagnosis.
And so in this case, you came to the conclusion that the defendant presented with a major depressive episode, right?
Correct.
And you relied on diagnostic criteria in the major depressive disorder category. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that was the diagnostic criteria that I used to support that diagnosis.
And counsel went through with you today a number of different, I think he called them symptoms of postpartum depression. But as far as major depressive disorder, what are the 9 general symptoms that you see, or you can find 5 or more of, to find that somebody suffers from a major depressive disorder?
So a major depressive episode is defined, and this is parallel to the description I was giving earlier of a manic episode. They're both problems of mood. They're both discrete periods of mood problems. So a major depressive episode would be a 2-week discrete change in a person's mood, and you have to have at least 5 of 9 different symptoms or signs, and it has to be persistent, and it has to be most of the days. So the 9 include starting out with anhedonia, meaning lack of feeling pleasure. Secondly, actually feeling depressed mood. It can be feelings of guilt or worthlessness. And then it also may include problems with thinking about death or suicidality. Furthermore, problems with sleep, eating, what we call energy, psychomotor activity, either psychomotor slowing or
Not a
agitation.
goober, Susan.
And then all these, you have to have 5 out of these 9 in order to meet the major depressive episode.
And I think maybe you might have missed one, diminished ability to think or concentrate. Is that one?
So, concentration.
So a lot of the symptoms that counsel read to you are symptoms that are in the category of a major depressive disorder. Is that correct?
Yes, this is the method of making the diagnosis of a major depressive episode.
So when you were asked on cross-examination about postpartum depression, and you kept answering that you found her to have a depressive disorder, are those the symptoms that you were speaking of when you were saying you found a major depressive disorder?
Can I object?
No overrule.
Bleeding?
Correct.
No overrule, I'll allow it.
I have nothing further.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything further?
Just briefly, sir, are you suggesting that my office had any control over when you were able to go visit Lindsay in the hospital?
Objection.
No overrule.
I don't know if your office was involved, but I imagine, so I don't know.
You don't know?
I imagine your office was aware,
Thank you.
but I don't know.
Doctor, I think you've answered the question. All right, next, anything further?
Thank you, Judge.
Anything further, Como? All right, thank you, doctor. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Not him over talking the judge.
All right.
Who does this guy think
members of the
he
jury,
is? Oh, he thinks he's an
we take a
expert.
morning break at this point, and we're going to come back, continue with the Commonwealth's rebuttal case. We'll have a witness who'll go on the stand after we get back. All right. So we'll take the break at this time. Thank you.
Court, all rise.
Man, did I need a break. That was like, I had to do, there was like mental gymnastics there happening trying to get this guy.
I can't believe I was late for court.
Man, I was too, though. My kids went off to school today. It was the first day of school. So I just came in and I started it from the beginning. That's why they're on a break right now. How long is this break, guys? You know what I noticed? Guys, Paula's usually in here and she's not in here today.
Can you and Sam check your cash apps?
Aw. Thank you. Thank you,
you.
Steve.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Oh, Eli said thank you. He just said it.
Aw, hugs, boy.
Thank you. They didn't say, Parody, how long it was going to be? Man, my brain is hurting from this one, guys.
Why can't Mac just answer yes or no?
You know the judge has to go smoke a cigarette after that.
Yeah. I'm
Probably
not gonna lie,
smoking
my
more than
camera kept
that.
going off and I'm over here hanging out the window because I couldn't handle it, man. I was having a massive breakdown. They're still on break. Man, I was getting so frustrated because if he said yes and he admitted, and everything Reddington was saying was correct. So if he admitted that, then he admits that, man, it could have been postpartum psychosis and I could have misdiagnosed. Parody, you ain't playing. Yeah. Listen, tomorrow
If we could
we're all
only see
coming.
the jury's faces, would be priceless.
Who on X? Oh, guys, if you're over on X, follow me. My other account, I had like 5,000 followers over there, but then my account got hacked, and so I lost my old account. So I just started a new one. So I'm over on X too. So find me there. But what are they saying over on X? Because I know what are their names? The prosecutors something. they're constantly reporting on, and so is Sue Collins or Sue O'Connell, always reporting on what
Yeah.
the jury is doing. Let me see. Oh, I can't. Let me see.
I just, that was hilarious. Hilarious. It was, he couldn't answer. I don't know. And then prosecution comes up and boom, he knows.
He just knows he was in the wrong. Are you there, Sam?
Sorry, guys. My dog
Yeah.
got out, so they're just telling me that they're gonna go look for him.
I'm here, just feeding the kids some breakfast.
Oh, that's okay. I couldn't hear Ivory, but I saw her talking, and I'm like, did my volume go again? I'm
No,
going
not
to
at all.
I'm going to buy a computer today.
Oh, yay. Where are you going to
Yes.
get one? Best Buy?
Well, I don't know. I was going to ask you guys, do I need to just go to Walmart and get one, or am I better to go to Best Buy?
I'd go to Best Buy
Best
or
Buy.
I'd go to Costco because they have a good return policy as well.
We have a Sam's,
Sam's Club has a good return policy and good prices
but
on
their
laptops.
prices seemed high. Oh, I'm going to buy a desktop.
Do they sell desktops anymore?
Yeah.
That's what I use. It's easier for me. I use a desktop, but I mean,
Where should she get one?
I
Best
got
Buy
mine
or
at Best Buy.
I would get Best Buy, yeah.
Okay. I didn't know because Walmart had some pretty good deals.
Oh
Actually,
well,
Walmart. I've never had a problem with Walmart. I've bought a few at Walmart.
I haven't bought a desktop but I've bought TVs and tablets and stuff and they've been fine from Walmart.
Yeah, I've never had a problem with their stuff.
But I don't even know what kind to get. But anyway,
I'll message you.
thank you.
I'll go through the listing, see what they got, and I'll message you the best one within a reasonable.
Well, my limit's 1,500. That's it.
That's actually a very high limit, so that's good.
Oh,
You might not. You're not even going to need that. People saying that Lindsay was doctor hopping and wanted ketamine. She wasn't doctor hopping, and I think ketamine was mentioned by one of the doctors as a possibility, but she didn't do it. Yeah, that's more than enough. But yeah, I don't. This guy Mac I mean, you're arguing with a freaking judge. I want to know what the jury saw. I need to go look on X. Susan said I'd get a MacBook. I don't have a, I don't, that might be good for you.
Yeah, I'm an Android user, so but I know you have an iPhone, but it's up,
Are
whatever
you
you
one of
feel
those people,
comfortable.
she said? All right. Sue O'Connell just said, who didn't say anything? Just that she's there. That don't help.
what's a MacBook?
It's an Apple laptop.
But I have such
I
a hard
use
time seeing my phone. So I kind of
Well,
want big monitors.
I
yeah,
use an HP.
what do you use, Ivory?
I use an HP. But I use a desktop. I don't use a I mean I have them. I have a bunch of different laptops and stuff, but I use my it's easier for me to download videos and do the work on them. It's got a lot more memory, and so I have less problems with my desktop. Just because I download a lot of videos and edit my videos on here and the streaming and stuff. But I'm sure that a MacBook would do the same thing and be just as good. I've just never used one.
Yeah, I think I want to get a big monitor and a desktop.
Yeah, you can and you can get extra monitors really cheap.
I
Monitors
noticed that.
themselves are a dime a dozen. They're pretty cheap. Um, is anybody parody? Do you see anybody commenting on what the jury's doing? Hey, one, we got to work on modding you. For some reason, it's not allowing me to mod you. I don't know why. Does anybody know why? I
Who?
usually, for one and only, I try to tap on her screen and it wouldn't let me. So then I went into my computer and went into YouTube Studio to try and mod her, and her name wasn't showing up, not her @ or her name on here. So for some reason, it's not allowing me to mod her.
Thank you, Sarah.
Here we go. What are they saying? Both sides have attempted to get in that video of the interviews with the doctors, and it's like the judge is not allowing it. I don't see anything. I don't see any reactions from the jury. Defense Diaries is commenting. Did they say anything, parody? Everyone on X hates Dr. Mac. I feel like his testimony didn't do anything. All we did was, I mean, we didn't even need all that, if I'm going to be honest with you. Even with Reddington, like today, we didn't need today. We already knew that he wasn't that good. You know what I mean?
Well, and he was pulled last minute to testify, and I think it really hurt the prosecution because I felt like for a moment, not that they've done a good job prosecution, but with the severity of this whole thing, that it may end up a hung jury or guilty, and that kind of shot him in the foot.
Yeah, yeah. And you know why they pulled him? Because nobody with any credibility would have testified that it wasn't postpartum psychosis. You can't. Two female jurors looked at each other at one point. Oh. That's not good. That's wild. That's not good at all. I'm wondering if this, I'm sure the jury's just about had enough, right? I'm sure they're just like, I'm over this. Is somebody being called after this, or are we done? Are we like
I
finished?
think we have 2 more.
Wait,
If Brian was right yesterday, I was listening to him.
Brian Etten?
Yeah.
It was when Dr. Mack said something about women. Yeah, he did not. We have one left. Do we know who it is? If DA
No.
says he's not psychotic, don't they have to say what a motive is? They don't have to say what the motive is, but it would support their case if they gave another motive. There's the other expert who's wait, whose expert is it? It's the defense's expert, right? The guy who was with Mac. Oh, Hapalm. What's his name? Kurt Halpbaum or something like that. Whose witness is he? Is he the defense or is he he's the DA expert? Oh shit, here we go. Here we go.
Are we back?
No, but we're
Oh.
about to get the guy who worked with him and did the who did the whatchamacallit with him?
The
This guy,
evaluation.
yeah.
Hey, you
He's gonna
guys, if
testify
you
next.
If you haven't subscribed to She Shed and Ivory, and if you click on my picture, I'm live too. If you can hit the thumbs up, you guys can go in there or come back. That's fine. And yeah, that's all.
And it's
Yeah, guys, do me
free.
a favor, like this out, share it out, repost it. I don't know how to do it, but however you guys do it, I appreciate it.
I copied it over on I can say it over here, Facebook.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so if anybody wants to do that where they can spread it across Facebook or any of their other platforms, they can just click on that arrow and copy link and then go to their Facebook and just paste it, and it literally shows us all live and people can join from there.
Hey, one. Sue O'Connell has been commenting about the jurors under her post about being there. Oh, it's in the comment section, Krista B. Sorry, guys, let me mute.
Hello.
Hey, well, I don't know why I can't mod you.
Might be because I've got a different name.
Oh,
I'll have to change. I'll have to try and change either. I'll have to make the names the same, maybe.
got you. Did I try? Maybe I tried to. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe I tried to mod the wrong one. But no, I still should have been able to model. Are they two separate accounts?
No, it's just I've got the username thing on this one, and then my other YouTube name is different.
Oh.
Is your
But I
age
can.
verified?
Oh,
Yeah, you
that
might.
might
I
be
can
why.
change it. It's fine. Everybody knows who I am now, anyway. I'm not exactly hiding on YouTube by myself.
Sue O'Connell, here we go.
I hope they're not going to lunch yet.
Watch. I hear my dog. I think my daughter found my dog. Let me see what she's saying is happening. I can't see what's happening here. Let me see. Mm-mm. I wish more people were. I want to know the jury's reaction. That's what I'm hunting for, guys. I'm sorry. I need to know. What the jury's
And
what
who
the
is it
jury's
that
saying.
usually posts that out?
Huh?
Where do you usually find that at on?
X. I was checking X.
But
Sorry,
under
guys.
who?
Sue O'Connell. And then you
Okay.
have Defense Diaries. They're commenting a lot on it. They're saying in the maybe Brian Enton will report on the jury. Oh, let me check Brian Enton. Hold on. I really want. That's really like I need to see the jury's face. I don't know why we can't look at the jury, but that drives me mad.
I know.
Brian Enton 2 hours ago said Lindsay Clancy jury looks very engaged. Most have notepads. Everyone is dressed up. Come on, give another update, Brian. We need to know now. That was 2 hours ago.
Yeah, that's the last time I see that Sue put anything too.
Yeah.
He was driving around yesterday. He was right outside their house.
They're talking about, oof, this expert is getting raked over the coals. Red is, some people are saying that Red is making a fool of himself. I don't think he was. I think he was trying to ask questions, and the man just was not willing to answer them honestly.
And
I
the
have
judge
seen.
seen that.
Yeah, I've seen a bit of that on social. people saying about Red. That he should just stop while he's ahead
Well,
and things like that.
those are people that think she should be guilty. Those are the only ones I've seen say he's done a bad job.
I bet the Commonwealth is severely regretting the decision to put Dr. Mack on the stand. I agree with that.
This court is back in session. You may be seated.
Your Honor, for the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, excluding the
I
jury.
can feel the. I
Attorney
can
Sprague,
feel
you ready for
the.
the jury?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Yay, we're back.
Got you, Krista B. I see it. All right, let's see. Tomorrow, this will be wine.
I'm half tempted to take off work tomorrow.
Do it. Take off work. I'm going to be a bad influence.
All rise. Jury's
That
in.
guy still there? Oh, who's got blue hair? Man, I wish I was here. I am sure everyone's ready for it to be over.
This court's now in session. Please be seated.
Your Honor, for the purpose of the record, we return back to the trial of Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy. All parties are present, including the defendant and including the 18 jurors.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Really adventurous?
Attorney Sprague, you call your next witness?
Thank you, Your Honor. The Commonwealth calls Dr. Kirk Halvern.
Ah, here we go. Here we go. At least he came with a briefcase. I'm shouting. I don't mean to be shouting.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. You start right here. Raise your right hand for the clerk, please.
Good morning. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony in the evidence you shall give to the court and the jury, the matter now pending between the Commonwealth and the defendant, is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You can have a seat.
Watch your step, please.
All right. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, sir.
All right. I'm going to ask you to keep your voice up so the jury can hear you. And with that, Attorney Sprague.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon. Can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Yes. My name is Kirk Heilbrun. That's spelled K-I-R-K, and then H-E-I-L-B-R-U-N.
What is your occupation?
I'm a psychologist. I am in the Department of Psychology at Drexel University in Philadelphia. And as part of that, I run two clinics. One is a clinic where I conduct psychological
You
evaluations.
can't even talk about yourself, buddy.
Thanks, sir. For courts and attorneys, and the other is what we call the reentry project, where we provide assessment and treatment services to individuals who are either returning from federal prison or under the jurisdiction of a federal mental health court or have been exonerated following a false conviction.
And do you specialize in certain areas of psychology?
Yes, I do. I'm a forensic psychologist, and that means that I take the application of clinical psychology and I apply it to legal proceedings in criminal and civil matters.
Can you describe your training in clinical psychology?
Yes, I can. I received a doctoral degree from the University of Texas
Calm
at
down, buddy.
Austin
They're not gonna
in
bite you.
1980. And I, as part of that, I received training in various sorts of assessment and treatment and therapy and research and things like that. And then also as part of that, I was involved in a full-time internship between 1979 and 1980 at the University of Texas Health Science Center at San Antonio.
And did you receive specialized postgraduate training in forensic psychology?
I did. I received
We didn't even
from
get to the hard
1981 to
questions yet. He's
1982. I
panicking.
did a postdoctoral fellowship in the applications of psychology to crime and criminal justice.
And what did that involve?
That involved full-time exposure to clinical work in correctional and forensic populations, and also a thorough exposure to the clinical and research literature on assessment
Did
and
he have to
interventions with
read
these
that? He
individuals.
didn't just know that?
And are you licensed to practice psychology?
I am licensed in the state of Pennsylvania, and I'm also part of something called PsyPact, which allows people licensed in one state to practice on a temporary basis in another state.
And are you board certified in clinical psychology?
I'm board certified with the American Board of Professional Psychology, which is the oldest and most rigorous kind of board certification agency organization in the country.
And are you board certified in forensic psychology?
Yes, I'm also board certified in forensic psychology with the American Board of Professional Psychology.
And do you have experience in the treatment of individuals found either incompetent to stand trial or not guilty due to lack of criminal responsibility?
I do. Between 1982 and 1991, I was first a staff psychologist, then a chief psychologist.
Did he have to write down his
Florida State Hospital
qualifications?
in Chattahoochee, Florida. And then between 1991 and 1994, I served as the clinical director of the forensic unit at Central State Hospital in Petersburg, Virginia.
This isn't
And at that
happening.
time, I was also
This
serving
is
as an
not
associate
happening.
professor in the Department of Psychiatry at the Medical College of Virginia in Richmond. And as a part of these positions, I had responsibilities for providing assessment and treatment services myself, and also for supervising such services provided by others.
And could you describe
Did you
your
read
job
that correctly?
responsibilities at Drexel University?
I could. I teach graduate and undergraduate courses
You,
in forensic
why
assessment
does he have
and
to read
law and
this?
psychology. And as part of the clinic that I mentioned a moment ago, I conduct forensic evaluations at the request of judges and attorneys, and I supervise individuals who are providing
Something's getting
services
smacked,
to
Ryan.
the individuals who
I
are
mean,
either
Susan,
coming
I don't
back
know
to
if it's
the community
the like
from
bar or this man.
from prison or under the jurisdiction of a federal mental health court, or who are leaving prison having been exonerated following a false conviction. And finally,
Ivory, what do you
conduct
do
research
for a
and
living?
supervise students who are working in psychology
Well-
areas.
And have you conducted research in the areas of abnormal behavior and criminality?
I have. Over the course of my career, I've published about 240 articles, chapters, and books in the areas of aggression and violence, juveniles, mentally disordered adult offenders, forensic assessment, ethics, and malingering and deception. And two of those interests that are particularly applicable to the present case are risk assessment, which helps us understand the influences contributing to violent behavior, and also forensic mental health assessment, where we consider the important principles and steps that are connected with psychological and psychiatric evaluations in legal contexts, such as criminal or civil proceedings.
And are you involved in providing continuing education to mental health and legal professionals?
Yes, over the past 15 years, I've presented about 50 lectures and workshops in the areas of forensic assessment, risk assessment, treatment, sexual offenders, and ethics.
And Doctor, in your experience in doing forensic evaluations and in teaching people how to do forensic evaluations, would you call someone you're doing a forensic evaluation on your patient?
No, I would call them perhaps someone who's being evaluated or an evaluee or something like that. They're not a patient, because the role of therapist in treating a patient is different from the role of a psychologist or psychiatrist in conducting a forensic mental health assessment. They're different in a number of different ways, but basically what we try to do as a forensic evaluator is we try our best to conduct a thorough evaluation in which we are out there and trying our best to be accurate and just come up with something that is as true and accurate as we can possibly make it in terms of evaluating the questions that were asked. When we're working as a therapist, basically we're working to help somebody improve in their in various kinds of difficulties that they're having in life, symptoms, problems, and that sort of thing. And the two can conflict sometimes because as a therapist, I just want to do my best to help somebody. As a forensic evaluator, I want to do my best to be as accurate and open and thorough as possible, even if it doesn't necessarily help someone.
And seeing as you've treated patients and you've conducted forensic evaluations, would you conduct a forensic evaluation on one of your patients if requested?
I would not, no. If I were asked to do that, I would explain that those are two different roles, that there is very likely a conflict of interest that could arise if I tried to do both, and I would refer whoever requested it to another individual to conduct the evaluation.
So here's another man who really
And
doesn't
have you
have the kind of
testified
qualifications
in
you would
cases
expect.
as a witness on issues like competence to stand trial, criminal responsibility at the time of an offense, civil commitment, and other areas?
I have. Over the course of my career, I've testified about 330 times with adults and juveniles. The issues have included things like transfer and sentencing, competence to stand trial, mental state at the time of the offense.
This man's going to be easy because he's not going to have the answers written down.
I've testified
What's he gonna
on
do?
behalf of both the defense and the prosecution. And I've been qualified as an expert in juvenile criminal and civil litigation in both state and federal court. And I estimate that over the course of my career, I have conducted about 75% of the time I've conducted an evaluation and testified on behalf of the defense. And the remaining 25% have been conducted and have testified on behalf of the prosecution or by order of the court.
And have there been times in that 25% of your casework that you've been retained by the prosecution, say for a criminal responsibility
25%
evaluation,
doesn't really give a
where
number.
you find
Like
that the defendant
25%
is
of
not
4 could be
criminally
1.
responsible, and you have to tell the prosecutor that?
Yes, that happens with the prosecutor, and it also happens with the defense. And it's just something that we have to be able to do if we're in the profession of forensic psychology, because if we try to be thorough and accurate and impartial, then sometimes the results will favor whoever asks us to conduct the evaluation, and sometimes they won't. And what they have to hear, if my findings don't favor them, is that they're probably not going to want to use it.
And is there something called retention bias?
There is. That's something that's been discussed, particularly in the last 10 or 15 years. And there are a number of different kinds of biases that the field has paid particular attention to, potentially, over the last 20 years or so. And retention bias is the bias that is a part of what we can experience when we want to or inclined to favor the side that asks us to conduct the evaluation. And that's an important consideration. And I'm aware of it, and I try to guard against it as much as possible by talking with others, getting multiple sources of information, and a variety of other ways of doing that.
So when you conduct an a forensic evaluation, you're actively guarding against having that retention bias?
Yes.
Now, have you specialized in any particular
I think,
diagnosis
let me refer to
or
my notes.
type of offense or legal
Like,
question?
what is happening?
I have not specialized in that way.
He brought
Most of my
cheat sheet
forensic
to court.
evaluation
Yeah.
experience has been with criminal and juvenile matters, and they have often included alleged crimes
Why do they
of
keep picking the
violence, but I
kids?
haven't
Because are those the only people
specialized
that
in any particular kind of mental or emotional disorder, any particular kind of crime, anything like that.
And when you say criminal and juvenile matters, are you referring to adults as the criminal portion and juveniles as juvenile?
I am, yes.
Okay. And do you find that there's a benefit to not focusing in on a particular illness or diagnosis or type of offense?
Yes, I do. Among the biases I talked about a minute ago, there's something called confirmation bias. And basically, that's if you make up your mind earlier or incline toward one particular
like Dr. Mack,
diagnosis or
who was
anything
absolutely
like that, then
biased.
there can be a real problem, because when you get conflicting information, that is information that's not consistent with that decision that you've made or leaned toward early on, then the problem becomes you pay attention to the information that's consistent with it, and you stay away from the information that isn't. And so in some ways, for me, not specializing gives me an advantage, because what I can do is come in and not be inclined toward any particular diagnosis or possible answer to a particular set of questions or a particular hypothesis or anything
Apparently
like
not,
that.
Jennifer.
What I can do is do my best to look at the different possibilities, and when there's evidence favoring one or supporting one, I'm inclined toward that. And when there's not, then I set it aside.
And have you had leadership experience in your field?
I have, yes. I served as the chair of my department at Drexel for 15 years. And I've also served as the president of two national organizations, the two that are most strongly associated with forensic psychology in this country. One is the American Psychology Law Society, and the other is the American Board of Forensic Psychology.
Your Honor, I'd move to submit Dr. Halbern's CV as the next exhibit.
That may be admitted.
Doctor, were you asked to conduct a forensic evaluation of Lindsay Clancy?
I was, yes.
And what did that entail, that forensic evaluation?
Hold on, I'm not sure.
One of
I
the
got to
things
check.
it entailed is doing my best to review a lot of information, to meet with Ms. Clancy in an interview, to speak with her in particular about what happened around the time of the alleged offense, to conduct collateral interviews with other individuals and review a wide range of documents. And so I have been reviewing documents since January of 2025. I had the opportunity to meet with Ms. Clancy in April of this year, 2026. And at that time, spent 3 days with her, along with Dr. Avram Mack. One of those days, which was video recorded, we talked about her background and a lot of information like that. The second day, where I met with her myself and did not video that, because some of these psychological tests are private and they should not be videoed. So we did some psychological testing during that second day, and then on the third day, back with the video, back with Dr. Mack, we talked with Ms. Clancy about the things that she was thinking and feeling and doing around the time of the alleged offense. And so I mentioned that I reviewed records. I've got a report sitting in front of me, And those records are spelled out over 4 pages, so I'm not going to run through the whole list with you. But those records did include things like cell phone records.
Guys, I'm going to take a restroom break. When I
Forensic
get back,
psychiatric
don't let me miss
evaluation
nothing.
reports by Dr. Resnick and Dr.
Okay,
Spinelli.
got it.
Some Department of Children and Family records, digital forensic records, including texts and information that was provided by the watch that she wore, the Apple Watch, and the phone. Variety of medical records, police investigative records, police interviews with many people, and grand jury proceedings, as well as surveillance footage of the Clancy family going to various places, Museum of Science visit, Cape Cod, CVs, that sort of thing.
And in total, all the time that you took to review these documents, look at the evidence, interview and test Ms. Clancy, approximately how much time have you spent on this case?
About 180 hours prior to coming to Plymouth. So most of that was spent in reviewing records. About 10 and a half hours was spent in meeting with Ms. Clancy and doing the testing. And then another hour and a half was spent in collateral interviews.
And who did you interview in collateral interviews?
I interviewed her former husband, Patrick Clancy, and his mother, Ms. Clancy's mother-in-law, Sue Clancy. And
did you also request to interview Ms. Clancy's mother and sister?
Not her mother. I did request to interview her sister, and I think she decided against that.
Now, you mentioned that when you interviewed Ms. Clancy on the first and third days, you were with Dr. Mack, correct?
Correct.
Why is it that you two were interviewing Ms. Clancy together on those days?
Well, that's something that I do sometimes, conduct a joint interview. That's done in training contexts, for example, a fair amount. And in this case, many of the questions that we were going to ask her, a large number of the questions that we're going to ask her about her background and her history were going to be similar. So we were able to conduct those, ask those questions in a way and save some time, keep her from having to go through and ask and answer them twice. Then the third day, again, many of the questions that we were going to ask had to do with her thinking, feeling, and behavior leading up to the time of January 24th. And basically, it involves kind of a step-by-step process, going very slowly, getting a lot of detail. And we expected that many of those questions, sort of step-by-step detail, were going to be things that we would be able to work on, or they were going to be things that we could ask twice, or we could ask once and see it on the video.
And in terms of your interviewing Ms. Clancy together, after that was done, did the two of you come up with a joint opinion on a diagnosis?
We did not, no. Although we were interviewing her together on 2 days, we took that information and we each independently came up with our own report, our own review of
and
that
let me guess, they're
information,
exactly
our own
the same.
analysis of what it meant, and so on. So, no, we wrote separate reports. We actually did not agree on the diagnosis.
Now, if we could have the PowerPoint. In terms of your evaluation of Ms. Clancy, including the records and the collateral interviews and your interviews of her, did you form some main conclusions?
I did, yes.
And if you could tell us, what were your major findings regarding Ms. Clancy's mental health history before September of 2022?
She had a fairly limited mental health history before September 2022. She did experience some anxiety related to achievement. She's a very strong student in school, and she got straight A's, basically. She experienced some anxiety while in nursing school doing case presentations because you have to stand up in front of a group, and that made her kind of anxious. And then she had some anxiety connected with her 3 pregnancies, some in the beginning about the ultrasounds and so on, and some sort of as she was
Thank you,
returning to
Parody.
work.
You're going to be our
So
eyes inside the
after
courtroom.
each child, she'd have some time off with a child, and then after several months, she would return to work. And on each of those occasions, with Cora and Dawson and Callan, she had some anxiety because she didn't like to leave her children. That was an important consideration for her, whether it was dropping them off at school or returning to work or leaving them with a babysitter or going out with friends, going out on date night. She didn't like to leave them. And so those were some of the things that were connected with her mental health history before September of 2022. And this was in the context of
Good morning, Garnet.
growing up as a highly achieving individual, getting very strong grades, competing in sports and competitive cheerleading. These are all things that the anxiety probably pushed her a little bit more in the direction of doing this very well, because she was a very hardworking and highly self-disciplined individual. She also grew up in a family that was close and comfortable, and had a number of friends that she spent time with, both as a girl and a teenager and so on. But she was very highly achieving. And I think one of the important aspects of her mental health history before September of 2022 is that she really did not experience anxiety in a way that interfered very much with her functioning. She had a little bit of she had about 6 months worth of treatment for the anxiety connected with the nursing school. But it was not something that interfered with her life very much prior to September of 2022.
And doctor, did you also learn that growing up as a child, she didn't experience any type of abuse, witness any domestic violence, have any sort of trauma or anything like that as she was growing up?
Yes, one of the psychological tests, which I'll talk about a little bit later, is called the Adverse Childhood Experiences measure. And that's something that asks an individual whether they went through what we would call adverse experiences or traumatic experiences as a child and an adolescent. And there are 10 of them.
This guy's boring.
And if you have 4 or more of them, that puts you at higher risk for different kinds of adverse outcomes as an adult. She did not endorse any of those. So on the ACEs questionnaire, she had a 0, which really goes to the question that you ask of whether she had adverse or traumatic experiences as a child.
And so she did not, correct? She did not report any.
She did not report any, and there were any number of individuals who were asked similar questions about her childhood and her adolescence, and they all said basically no, she did not.
And then can you tell us about your major findings for the mental health history beginning in September 2022?
Yes, I can. So it was about 12 weeks after her son Callan was born, and she was feeling very anxious and sometimes depressed about having to leave him.
So he
when
literally
went
wrote a
back to work.
story.
There were two reasons for that. One
Broth
is
is
that
going to be
she had
delicious.
felt anxious about leaving her children on a number of occasions and with the previous kids. But the second reason was she was breastfeeding and Callan was not taking the bottle. And so she was worried if she went back to work. She worked as a labor and delivery nurse on the night shifts. And she was worried that if she left Callan home and he woke up in the night and wouldn't take the bottle, there would be a problem. And so that was what got her particularly anxious. And what happened was she searched for a psychiatrist, found one, Dr. Jennifer Tufts, in September, and went to Dr. Tufts and got a prescription for Zoloft she wanted to reduce her anxiety somewhat. And she didn't begin taking it immediately. She was a little bit worried about the impact that it might have on the breast milk. But sometime in October, she began taking the Zoloft. And things started getting very difficult at that point.
And doctor, did you learn how things became difficult from the records in your interview of her?
I did, both of those, and from, I guess you could say the records, because a number of people had talked about that, including her husband, Patrick. And I also got some of that information from him as well during the collateral interview.
And what did you learn?
What was happening toward the end of his 12-week paternity leave is that she was getting more anxious when she started in mid-October taking the Zoloft. She immediately began to have some difficulty. The anxiety did not get better. In fact, it got worse. There were some symptoms of depression. She immediately started having some really difficult insomnia and felt a lot of stress and so on. And so in October and moving into November, she had hoped to return to work and planned to return to work, but it was not going to work out for her because her symptoms were really difficult. So in the middle of November, she texted her mother-in-law, Sue Clancy, who was at work, also a nurse, and she was in the emergency room at South Shore Hospital. She felt unwell. She was having problems sleeping. She had a racing heart. She had lost some of her appetite. Continuing into November, she was struggling with anxiety, severe insomnia, palpitations. She was just having a lot of difficulty with the thought of leaving the baby, erasing thoughts, feeling overwhelmed, and things like that. So moving further into November, into late November, she was just having real difficulty with sleep disruption, and she had concerns all along, starting in mid-October, about the impact of the medications. It was her thought that the medications were giving her some of these adverse reactions because it was really difficult for her to look at this and say, I wanted to get some improvement in the anxiety, and I did not. Instead, it got worse. And so late in November, she was still having a lot of trouble sleeping. She thought that she was close to what she called the end of her rope. She was feeling off and disconnected and sort of like a zombie. And she began to report panic symptoms, concerns about being addicted or dependent on the benzodiazepines, some kind of disoriented and forgetful, and disconnected from her body. So she was having a lot of difficulty with what she thought were the medication that was resulting in this
I'm trying to
kind
stay
of
awake.
impact. And then into December, it was not getting better.
And sir, if I could just interrupt you.
Yes.
On your PowerPoint here, are we still on number 3 here, or have we moved on?
I don't know as he finished his answer.
Why don't you come in focus?
Are we still on number 3, or have we moved on?
We're still on number 2, but,
okay.
but I'm also
This is going to be a
slipping
long
in a
day.
little bit of number 3 as I answer number 2.
Okay. And if you could please continue describing what was happening
Susan,
in
I'm
December
struggling.
of 2022.
Yes. Around this time, late November, early December, she began to experience what she called horrible, intrusive thoughts. And those thoughts were about harming herself, potentially. And as she continued to experience these kinds of thoughts later into December and January, they would occasionally be about harming the children. But for the most
November.
part, particularly early on, these were thoughts about possible suicide and harming herself. And the way she described it is these thoughts would just pop into my head, and they included things like, your brain is damaged, you need to kill yourself. Now, the way she described these is they were not auditory hallucinations. Instead, they were her own thoughts. They were intrusive and unwelcome, but they were not auditory hallucinations. And that's important because if she had been hearing a voice like you're hearing my voice right now, it comes from outside of your head. And that's a different kind of a symptom than having thoughts, even unwelcome and intrusive thoughts that are in your head. If it's coming from outside, that is very likely a psychotic symptom. And if it's a psychotic symptom, then that has different implications for what's wrong with you, as opposed to something that is unwelcome and intrusive, but inside your own head.
And doctor, the way she described these thoughts that she was having in December about harming herself, in the medical records and in her conversations with you, she described those as unwelcome but internal thoughts, correct?
Yes, that's right. It was important because of what I just said that I asked her the question, when you were experiencing these thoughts, were they like your own thoughts or were they like auditory hallucinations? And she said they were like my own thoughts. And she made it clear that they were unwelcome and intrusive, but they were like my own thoughts. And she didn't get to talking about experiencing auditory hallucinations, as I will talk about a little bit later, until January 24th. And so she continued to have real difficulty with various kinds of problems. She had lost about 15 pounds, not intending to. She was having tremors and sweating and GI symptoms and sadness, severe depression, that sort of thing, as she described it. Feeling numb and zombie-like were her words.
Look at the
again
judge.
in December. And then by middle December, it was getting very difficult for her as she talked about it. Her sleep was getting a little bit better, but she was continuing to have significant symptoms of depression, things like hopelessness and loss of capacity for pleasure and things like that. She described her experience on December 15th of 2022 as one of her worst days. She went to, her husband took her to Mass General that day, and she did not stay very long, but it was one of those things that was really difficult. The symptoms were, as she saw it, pretty bad. And then on December 20th, she went to a hospital called Women and Infants in Rhode Island, and they had a day program for postpartum individuals having difficulties. And they said that they weren't going to take her, that she didn't meet their criteria for the postpartum program. Generally, that was because they said that she looked like she was having a general anxiety symptoms and depressive disorders, but not so much the postpartum necessarily. And
doctor, if I could just stop you.
No,
yes.
You finished with that description of what information you got from that provider?
Not quite, Judge, but almost.
Okay.
I apologize.
Yes.
You can finish.
That's not, look at, Red's ready. He's revving
So
up.
she was
Revving Red.
not going to remain in women and infants. And the next step that she took was hospitalization at McLean.
And so if I could ask you a follow-up question now, before we
Yes.
go on to McLean,
Yes,
about women and infants, were you able to review the women and infants records?
I was, yes.
And looking at the women and infants records, on page 9 I have here, it states that patient was offered several options for her, including inpatient treatment for medication management, a partial hospital program focused on general mental health, or continued outpatient management. Patient plans to follow up with her outpatient provider for guidance. So even though they said she didn't necessarily fit into their postpartum program, they did offer her 3 other programs, correct?
They did, yes.
And her response, Ms. Clancy's response, was that she was going to discuss that with her provider for guidance, correct?
Yes.
And in reviewing the records of Dr. Tufts and Rebecca Gelada, did you ever see any mention of the defendant actually following through with that and discussing with them those 3 options that were offered by women and infants?
No, what I saw is that they were back to being treated according to the plan and the medication and so on. But she was back to being treated, discussing with Dr. Tufts what the best implications were for treatment.
Okay. And then you were about to talk about what happened at McLean. So if you could please tell us what you learned about McLean and how that was impactful to your analysis or your evaluation.
Yes, she was admitted to McLean on January 1st of 2023. And what got her there was suicidal thinking. That was very difficult for her. That was a very difficult time to experience that sort of thing. And so she went into McLean on January 1st, and their admission documentation listed postpartum depression and major depressive disorder, which they described as recurrent and mild. While she was in McLean, what she reported as her primary concern was insomnia. And she said that while she was hospitalized, it actually made her more anxious than being at home. And when she was asked about the suicidal impulses and thoughts, she said that she would not commit suicide because of her children and her mother. So she had they asked about reasons for living, among other things, and those were some of the ones that she cited.
Doctor, would that be called a protective factor?
Yes, sometimes it's called a protective factor.
And that's something that protects you or prevents you from committing suicide?
Yes, would keep you from doing something like that.
And then what were your further findings?
So she stayed at McLean for 5 days, and she was documented as not having safety concerns and at minimal risk for returning to the community by January 3rd. She described her mood there as numb, but she denied things like delusions or hallucinations or suicidal thoughts that were continuing or homicidal thinking. And at the time she was discharged on the 5th of January, she was described as cooperative and pleasant, with no psychosis, no suicidal or homicidal thinking. And she said, when I was asking her about it, that when she left McLean, she had what she described as a small shred of hope after discharge, because she was off of medication, Seroquel, which she thought was causing her a lot of trouble. But the intrusive suicidal thoughts returned, she said, within a week or so following her discharge from McLean.
And would we be moving on now to number 3 on your PowerPoint?
Yes,
The
we are.
Symptoms following the beginning of medication. So what were your major findings in that area?
Well, I have, I think I've combined 2 and 3 as I've talked about this, because one of the things about this is after she started taking the medication in October, the Zoloft, she had,
Thank you, Parody.
the anxiety didn't get better. She had great difficulty with insomnia. And she said she was numb. She felt like a zombie. It wasn't something that she was able to see any improvement in. In fact, she thought it was getting a lot worse. And so
You were going to take control.
What she thought is that the symptoms that she was experiencing following taking the medication that was prescribed beginning in October, she said the symptoms were getting worse, particularly a new symptom, which was insomnia.
We could move on to the next slide.
A new
Doctor,
symptom.
and does that bring us to number 4 on your PowerPoint, the adverse response to medications, including bad insomnia?
Yes, and I won't take nearly as long in talking about that, because one of the things that she thought was happening when she began taking that medication in October is that the medication itself was far from making the anxiety better. It was making it worse and keeping her from sleeping, and it was, she thought, making it difficult for her to she thought that the medication was actually making it a real problem for her to sleep, to feel. She felt emotionally numb and that sort of thing. And so accompanying the bad insomnia with the apparent adverse responses, producing the insomnia and other things, was a real problem for her as she saw it. And it's one of the things that she continued to emphasize to providers, whether it was Dr. Tufts or Ms. Gelada, a nurse practitioner. She said, basically, I think these medications are making me worse. But one of the things, moving on to number 5 there, one of the things she also said is that she was focusing on helping the anxiety get better through medication. There was a little bit of counseling going on with Ms. Gelada, but one of the things that she did not really have was, say, a cognitive behavioral therapist or something like that to help her work through the problems. She thought that medication was going to try to help, and it really did. It was something that she focused on a good deal.
And when you say she was focused, the defendant was focused on medication resolving her problems, would that include talking to doctors about different medications to try, researching medications on her own, asking friends and family for tips on medications, things like that?
Yes, all of those things.
Okay. And then should we move on to number 6, the mixed evidence about diagnosis and the nature of her problems?
Yes.
And what were your major findings in that area?
Excuse me just a moment. over the course of the time that she was going through these experiences between mid-October and late January, she'd had a lot of providers offer a lot of diagnoses, and there were a lot of complicating considerations. So among some of the diagnoses that she'd been given were adjustment disorder with anxiety and depression, generalized anxiety disorder, major depressive disorder, bipolar disorder 2, postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, post-traumatic stress disorder. That last one was not before January of 2023, but it's something that she has right now. And in addition to those diagnoses, which sort of implies that she has a disorder and she has symptoms, there were complicating factors. She had psychotropic medication with apparent adverse reaction. She had serious sleep deprivation over a 3-month period. She had between 5 and 8 months after the birth of her third child. She had anxiety about returning to work in the fall of 22. She was worried about leaving her baby for work.
Aren't we going through this whole thing all over
and he
again?
was not taking the bottle. And the other thing, which was important for her, is she was always someone who was, she was into exercise. And she stopped exercising sometime in October when she started having these adverse reactions. But it's one of these things that it was a real difficult thing for her to handle when she couldn't do the running or the yoga or the Peloton or other things that she used to keep her anxiety managed.
Almost. I feel
Were
like
you aware
maybe
that she was able to return to exercising on several dates in December and in January, going to the Kingsbury Club where she was a member?
Yes, she was trying that. Yes.
Yeah. And is that something that, as putting on your clinician hat for a moment, is that something that you would recommend to a patient that they, in this situation, that they try to do things like exercise to complement medication and therapy?
Well, if it works, it does work for some people, and they use it effectively over the course of their lives, particularly if they have some anxiety that might not fully need treatment, but it's something that might interfere with your life a little bit.
And what were your next observations?
Well, if we could move on to the next slide, please.
So here we have number 7, your diagnosis, bipolar 2 disorder. So was that your diagnosis of Ms. Clancy?
It was, and it was hard because of all the diagnoses in the records and all the symptoms that she experienced and so on. To make a diagnosis of bipolar disorder or bipolar 2 disorder, which is a kind of a less serious way of experiencing bipolar disorder, you have to have identifiable mood swings. And one is a period of depression, which she certainly had, but a period of depression. And that was something that made a big difference over a certain period of time, and depressed symptoms and sadness and not having much or not having much motivation and things like that. But you also, for a bipolar diagnosis, need something where you have an identifiable period where the mood is much greater. It's much, one of the things that I might say is that one feels during a manic period sort of high, jumpy, decreased need for sleep, racing thoughts, sort of flight of ideas, thinking really fast, excessive appetites for different kinds of things, not getting tired, feeling important and powerful, and things like that. And I was having a hard time finding something that looked like it was a manic episode. There were times when she felt,
so
as
not
she
the
described it,
exercising.
after the birth of different children. She felt good. She felt on top of the world. She felt really close to them, to her husband and her kids, and so on. But it's also something that it didn't look like a manic episode so much as it looked like she was really feeling good and getting back into exercise and things like that. So it's one of those considerations where the thing that sort of gave me pause for a while in diagnosing a bipolar disorder is that I didn't see that manic episode. But what really convinced me is that she's been at Tewksbury now for more than 3.5 years. And the diagnosis of record at Tewksbury is bipolar disorder. And they are, as I read the records, very careful about what they prescribe and how much, and various other kinds of considerations. And one of the things that the records reflect is that when she was on some medication that's prescribed to help stabilize her mood, and it was discontinued for medical reasons, she had a kind of immediate response to that, which is to say, she noticed it, and that's a consideration as well. So I ended up with making a diagnosis of bipolar 2 disorder, which is a slightly less, not slightly, it's a less severe form of bipolar disorder.
And doctor, why did you diagnose with bipolar 2 and not bipolar?
Because bipolar, as I said, is a more severe kind of diagnosis. It's more noticeable.
She killed her kids. Can you get any more severe
diagnosis? Then I would want to see something that clearly and definitely looks like a manic episode. And I did not see any evidence of that before January 24th of 2023.
And there were some incidents that have been described by witnesses who have testified and in the medical records, things like the defendant cleaning out her garage with her husband at one point in time. Was that something that you did or did not see as manic, and why?
Well, there was some indication in the records that some people thought it was manic. I did not see it that way. She did not describe, when I asked her, whether she did not describe that as a manic episode. She didn't think it was. And when I talked to Patrick Clancy, he said he didn't think it was either. And basically it was cleaning out the garage and getting a lot of stuff into 20 trash bags and so on. But one of the things he said is, they were both working hard, but it wasn't all her out there putting stuff in 20 trash bags, and he wasn't a part of it. He said he was definitely a part of it.
Okay. And would it be accurate that bipolar disorder requires that period of mania for, I believe it's 7 days, where bipolar 2 requires hypomania?
like the exercising,
for 4 days, is that right?
and then the lack
Yes,
of
that's right.
exercising that you
And so
just
did you
reported?
see signs of hypomania?
Well, that's something where it's less clear that it's manic, and that's one of the things that inclined me toward bipolar 2 is I just did not see signs that were clearly manic episodes, but it looked like something that it possibly could have been a less serious or less severe manic episode.
And in terms of this diagnosis, this bipolar 2,
He's
is
not
there a
helping the
way to
prosecution.
determine whether she always had this disorder or if it's something new, and if it's something new, when it
And then they just
appeared?
testified she couldn't get up and couldn't move.
It's a disorder that typically comes on in adulthood. It's not something that you have as a kid or even for the most part as an adolescent. It's something that you start to show the signs of when you are in your 20s or 30s.
And so at this point, would it be time to move on to number 8 on your PowerPoint?
Yes.
Which would be criminal responsibility evaluation. So mental state and legal standard are relevant. So what were your findings on number 8?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to say about number 8 is that I
Thank you,
wasn't
Sarah.
called up here just to make a diagnosis or talk about symptoms. This is a criminal responsibility evaluation. And one of the things that I take a look at very carefully when I'm doing something like this is what's the standard for criminal responsibility in the jurisdiction. Now, I'm aware that the court will instruct the jury about the standard and how you
I'm not
apply it
gonna
and so
lie,
on.
this
But
guy's
my
boring,
understanding
but I feel
of
like
the
he's more
standard for criminal
credible than Dr.
responsibility
Mack,
in
if I have to
Massachusetts
admit.
is that a person is not criminally responsible if at the time of the offense they suffered from a mental disease or defect and as a result lacked substantial capacity either to appreciate the criminality or wrongfulness of their conduct or to conform their conduct to the requirements of the law. So there were really three parts. There really are three parts to that criminal responsibility standard. The first is mental disease or defect, and that's one of the reasons why I've paid so much attention to the symptoms and when they began and things like that. But the other thing that I try to do is take those symptoms and see how they affect
He is
somebody, in
overcompensating.
this
He's
case, Ms.
scared.
Clancy's
He's
capacity
not willing to get
for
caught in a lie.
knowing that something like this was illegal or wrong, or how they affected her capacity for conforming her conduct to the requirements of the law, which I think of as kind of controlling her behavior.
And to determine, is that something that those three elements are those things that you kept in mind throughout your evaluation of the records and your interview of the defendant and the psychological testing that you did?
It is, yes. And it's something that I put on page 1 of my report because I always try to do that to try to make it
No
as
doubt,
clear as
but
I
I think
can
he's trying more
that
than the other
this is
guy.
something I'm paying attention to throughout the entire evaluation.
So that's your mindset when approaching the evaluation of Ms. Clancy?
It is, yes.
Okay. And so what types of psychological testing did you do with Ms. Clancy?
There were several reasons why I wanted to do psychological testing. One is what we call response style. In a matter like this, somebody like Ms. Clancy during an interview could respond what we call reliably, which is within the limits of her memory, as accurately as she possibly can. But there are other response styles. One is that somebody could do what we call exaggeration or even fabrication. Sometimes that's called malingering, which is they distort or they take the kind of report that they do and they exaggerate or even fabricate the severity of what they are experiencing. And then the other kind of response style is to underreport, basically to say, I'm going to minimize or even deny things that I actually experience. So response style is always important in doing a forensic evaluation like this, and I paid attention to it. And one of the psychological tests that I administered, something called the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, has scales that allow me to look and say, is she being kind of reliable, or is she exaggerating or fabricating, or is she minimizing or denying? So that was one of the reasons that I wanted to do these tests. The second is I wanted to pay attention to possible symptoms of what we call severe mental illness, things like hallucinations or delusions or mental disorganization. They can't really kind of focus on what's being discussed so much as you tend to get off track or have tangential speech, which is kind of running off the topic and going to different ways and so on. Cognitive disorganization is another speech. There's also review of her reported symptoms around January 24th of 2023, and I wanted to ask her questions in a fairly comprehensive way about that. There are other symptoms that she was experiencing, reportedly depression in particular, and I wanted to know how depressed she was feeling. And so that was something that I could also measure with these psychological tests. And then finally, suicidal thinking was quite important. And I wanted to ask her questions about her thinking and feeling and behavior related to suicide, kind of leading up to January 24th and then around that time. So these are all reasons why I gave her psychological tests.
I could have you pause there for a moment.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it's a good time
This is
to
a good
break.
time to break. All right, why don't we do that? Thank you. All right, so members of the jury, we're going to take the afternoon recess at this point. You know my instructions, so they're going to be the same. Don't talk about this case. Don't do any research about this case. Don't listen to anything about it. Don't read anything about it. Have a nice break, and we'll have you come back here about 2 o'clock. Okay?
Court, all right. All right, please. Good. Close the notebooks, page 110, just like this.
Man, that guy is not trying to get caught in a lie, number one. He seems a little bit more credible than Dr. Mack. But he's just talking and talking and talking, going over everything unnecessarily. It's like, wow. That's like, wow. I am struggling to stay awake, guys. I can't even lie.
It's as if he was giving everything and then nobody could ask a question. He's given every single bit of blah, blah, and then no one can ask.
He's not leaving anything for interpretation. He is not, no, he's not he's not trying to let you get a question. He's just, let me explain everything, and then you can just refer back to what I said, because, period. Man, that's wild, but I'm not
My
gonna lie.
daughter called and I missed that whole part, so now I'm gonna have to go back and watch it.
Oh, trust me. What, this part with this guy? You didn't miss anything.
Yes. Oh,
I
okay.
don't, yeah, no, he didn't. He is trying to, I see where he's going, trying to do the diagnosis of bipolar 2, and trying to say it wasn't as severe, like, I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm waiting for Reddington to come in and tear this guy a new one. He needed to take a breath a few times, use punctuation. Yeah, man, he was just rolling out. I mean, first of all, it concerns me when you say, well, what do you do for a living? And he's got to check his paper and be like, well, like, you don't know. You can't just answer that offhand, or do you have to have everything written down for you? Because honestly, that concerns me, that you can't just think on your own. I get you wanting to look at stuff just to remind you or keep little bullet points, but if you're reading word for word and reading like a script, that concerns me. It is hard to pay attention to him, BTS. You're not lying. I'm not gonna lie. I was struggling to listen to that. Yeah, I was definitely struggling. He also works with federal inmates or ones who have been wrongfully accused or have gotten out. She's not that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he speaks better, but he seems really scared. He's like, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna argue. I feel like he's going to be an easy pushover because he doesn't want the same scene that Dr. Mack had. But man, we have an hour break though, guys. I think I'm going to go take a lunch break, and I will be back on at like 1:45, guys. So
I'm gonna go buy a computer.
Oh, okay. Well, good luck. Let us know. Take us on the journey.
I will.
Alrighty. All right, guys. Well, I'll be back at 1:45. It's 1 o'clock for me now. They're coming back on at 2. You're right. These experts are not qualified for this particular case.
I'll see you then.
All right, guys. I will see you guys at 1:45.